Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio here on a Friday. DB with me. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are live on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. And of course, you can find us live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube as well. DB, how you doing this morning?
I'm good. Yeah, you got here safely?
Yeah, I did. The safely wasn't the issue. It was timely was the issue. That was, and listen, I'm going to take the L on that. That's on me.
Oh, there's no wiggle room.
Well, I'm not going to be one of those guys to be like, traffic and whatever.
No, I think you know your audience. I'm not listening.
Listen, traffic was an issue, absolutely, but the real issue for me was, and again, this is on me. I usually grab a couple of the Uncrustables out of the freezer. Was out of the Uncrustables this morning, so I had to make an unscheduled stop. So that's on me. I didn't plan ahead. That's my fault.
Is that what it was?
Yes, it was. I had to make the breakfast stop because we were out of the Uncrustables.
What'd you go with today?
It is the biscuit sandwich I went with.
Oh, really?
I mean, listen, I didn't want the pancakey breakfast sandwich.
Pancakey.
The McGriddle.
Oh, those are like, what's wrong with a good old fashioned muffin? Like English muffin.
I think I go biscuit over muffin.
Really?
I think so.
Yeah, see, I'm not a biscuit guy. So I'm unqualified.
That's
like a lot of things.
It's like a personal preference, right?
I don't like dense. They're light and flaky and you got to do this.
No, they're pretty dense.
And I'm like, eh.
No, they're pretty dense.
And it really does for me.
Yeah.
It's like, it's secondary, not necessary. So even though I'm sure I could probably find something that's legit, just not worth the old time. Like if I'm going to go that route, I'd much rather do something else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not thrilled.
That's like most things that I say I don't like.
Mm-hmm. It's not just that you actively dislike them. It's like
it's not like that I like hate pulled pork. There's just 32 other proteins I would eat before I ordered pulled pork. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get that. I think that's a lot of my issue
probably
with
32.
Not that you've thought about this at all.
No.
And counted them out exactly. That number is exactly 32 people. He has done
so I suppose I would. Nah, I would probably eat a pancake. I don't get it. Like if I was gonna go the carb and syrup route,
you go waffle or French toast?
Probably waffle, but I'm not gonna bash French toast either.
No, I like all of them.
But I
like all three.
It's just
you're not a carbs guy though.
I would get grits.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I like grits.
Oh, me too.
Are you sweet grits or savory grits?
Savory. I'm not.
Okay.
I get it. I'm a minority, so I should like sugar in my grits, but I don't.
Oh, I didn't know there was.
It's a regional thing.
I thought it was regional more than.
It's a regional thing.
Like Southern, if you don't go savory grits, they get real mad.
I'm not a sugar in my grits guy. I like.
Yeah.
I've learned to make them a lot better. Sometimes I can do, a little chicken broth. Sometimes just seasoned water. Sometimes I'll use, half and half.
I've never heard of half and half in there before.
Oh yeah, a little, yeah.
To make it a little creamier.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like if I'm gonna take the extra cals,
you're going grits.
I'm going grits. I'll take a potato. Like I'll take
potatoes.
I'll take a hash brown.
But
I'm not the guy that.
I mean, listen, if they would make me a breakfast sandwich on hash browns, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like I'm in.
KFC has one of those, right?
Do they?
Somebody does. Somebody has a potato sandwich.
I'd be in for that. I could do hash brown.
So the new hack on TikTok is putting your stuff on an onion.
Oh, I don't know.
Which I will never do.
I don't think I'm about that life.
But
that's just, I gotta be honest. Okay, a little soapbox here with people.
Here we Irish Spring, Zest. What are we doing? Like
we'll go
liquid bar. What are we
go? Well, I'm a liquid guy typically, but
we'll
go Zest. We'll go Zest.
Golly, old school. I didn't do a Lever 2000 one available.
Well,
do they still make that, Shane?
I'm feeling a little.
I get
zesty.
it every once in a while.
Oh, shocker.
That's,
I know, right?
That's the least surprising thing we've heard this morning.
Do you still do Lever 2000?
If it's a good price, I mean, if it's there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not all about like going in and trying to figure out what I need. I mean, if it's just right there on the shelf and it's like
Right
that,
there.
and it'll do, then I take it.
So product placement works really well on tape, is what
I'll
we learned.
experiment, but eventually it always comes back to some version of Irish Spring.
Well, so here's my deal though.
Yours is a different soapbox.
Yeah, different type. It's a metaphorical soapbox.
Okay. Nivea? No.
Old Spice. I like the commercials.
Oh gosh, you talk about played out.
Yes, no, for sure. No, I need people to stop trying to make things that aren't healthy. And they're not even actually trying to make it healthy, right?
Okay.
Like the way to make a burger healthy is to go like chicken or turkey over beef. Like that's the biggest factor there. Don't try and give me a lettuce wrap on a burger and be like, look, it's healthy now. And then there's still bacon and cheese and beef inside the lettuce wrap.
Yeah.
You just made a good thing disgusting and not healthier.
I got a guy on a carnivore diet who's, I think last count on Monday, he's down 34 pounds
Nice.
in 52 days.
That's aggressive.
Yeah.
That's getting after it.
Now it was a wholesale,
Like cold turkey switch, just boom, just
Yep.
flip the switch one day.
and he kept it. He did it pretty. It was quick.
Yeah.
No carbs, and he said the biggest thing was eliminating sugar.
Yeah, I have a problem when people are trying to like, oh, we're gonna make this on an onion patty or whatever. It's like you're just making it worse. I get
Yeah.
it might be 10% healthier, but if you want to make healthy choices, then maybe skip the burger.
Which is weird,
Like
right?
that's
'Cause,
where I have the issue.
You know, Shane was like, "Oh God, were you stressed or you losing weight when you were gone?" And I was like, "Yeah, probably a little both." But so like
Anxiety more effective than Ozempic. I'm just
well,
gonna-
oh yeah, back to that. Hey, make that call. No, so like I have tallow,
okay.
bacon up.
Yeah.
So there is some extra virgin olive oil, and I have avocado oil. Found a huge tub of coconut oil for like $13.
Okay, Costco.
Yep.
I mean, I just assume huge tub of anything's from Costco.
Yeah, but I only have one, so I was thinking it would come in a double. But
Not always. If it's big, if it's a big enough tub, it doesn't always double.
Yeah. So, and that's it. And
And that's all you cook with?
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and I actually think that helps. Like I feel better.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's better that, I mean, not to go all like nutritionist on people here, but there's certain things that you either cook stuff in or fry stuff in
I
that
think
don't
bacon,
make you feel very good.
bacon tallow and bacon up are the two greatest.
Yeah.
Are the two greatest things going right now. Because I used to always strain my, I'd make my bacon on a sheet pan, and so I would like strain
the bacon out. So sounds great.
And I have plenty.
Yeah.
Right. So I could go to the old school, but the bacon up, and now it's a little more affordable. Like it's in the $6.69, $6.99 range. But you go try to buy like grapeseed or avocado, or man, it is
Avocado is pricey.
it's high.
It's
So
pricey.
I found one on Amazon.
Mhm.
It's a gallon. I don't even know why, since this was a food show.
I don't know. There could be bacon involved.
Yeah. I found a big deal for it's like 20 some bucks, but it's huge.
Yeah.
It's gonna last a while.
That's no big deal.
I did gizzards the other day,
Okay.
and
My mom loves gizzards.
I'll tweet you a picture. They were unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they take like 6 minutes. Now the prep time, I got the vinegar, the water to wash. I season. I didn't even do buttermilk. I just I cracked an egg and let it sit. And
Pretty good.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
I don't think I've had gizzards since I was a kid. My mom used to get them sometimes.
See, I think they're sensational, and I get them. They're not for everybody.
Yeah.
But that would be what I would call like a splurge
Oh, okay.
for me.
She used to get like chicken livers and gizzards, I think.
Yeah. See, I'm out on livers.
You're going to miss on the livers?
I'm out on.
You ever had
livers.
chicken liver mousse?
No.
It's pretty good.
No. It's pretty booty. So I saw somebody. So Bobby Flay does a.
Yeah.
Beat Bobby Flay.
Yeah.
His ingredient one time was chicken livers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he make a chicken liver mousse?
So the guy did like a a pate. Yes, the equivalent, a pate.
Yeah.
Somehow in 20 minutes he used the air gun and got it to be very. Who knows? Like I think they used a pressure cooker. I
Oh,
can't
probably.
remember the exact technique,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I still can't believe after all this 7 minutes of food talk, you went with the biscuit.
Yeah. Listen, I mean,
I have a biscuit connoisseur in the house,
yeah.
and he would tell you that the best biscuit belongs, if you're gonna go fast food, belongs to Hardee's.
I'd buy that.
I don't know enough.
I would buy that. Hardee's is. But they go all in. Like they are the opposite of what I was talking about of like trying to give you the lettuce wrap and stuff. Hardee's is
think I could win $1 million from Burger King.
I would guess no.
I want to know who's going to win the Design the Whopper thing. Because I could do that.
You could design the Whopper.
Yeah,
you're gonna get after it a little bit.
I'm not that creative though. I mean, it's going to be something with multiple proteins.
Oh yeah, you got to.
I mean, the best burger that I ever had in the city had multiple proteins.
What was it?
It was a charred burger,
Okay,
a sausage patty, bacon, and cheddar cheese.
Oh, so a sausage patty in addition to the burger
Correct.
patty. Interesting.
And it belonged to Sinful Burger.
Oh yeah.
Now Birchin
Makes a good burger.
did one for me.
Yeah.
Like and it also had a sausage patty, and I ordered 3. Unbelievable. And they did the circular cutout hash brown on there.
Oh, hash brown on a burger is underrated.
And I also like the Benning burger that was here. So
yeah, absolutely.
And I see these fast food places trying to do like multiple meats. Like, how is Sonic going to pull off pulled pork?
I don't know.
I mean, no disrespect to Sonic, because I think people sleep on their breakfast, but like, can you make that in mass production and have it be good?
I mean, good's a sliding scale, right? It's a relative term.
Yeah.
Good
Nobody
enough
can do that.
is usually what you're going for in those situations.
I vacuum sealed some pollock yesterday.
Yeah, the fish.
Yeah.
Not the paintings like Jackson.
No.
You should sell those. They're expensive.
Well played.
They're expensive. You should sell
that.
those.
That'll be probably Friday or Sunday.
You do a little fish fry for Lent?
No, just been craving a fish sandwich.
Okay.
I don't do the fish fry thing, even though I drive by Mary Our Queen every day.
And that one's popping, isn't it? That one goes
every day I drive by because I picked Zoe up.
Yeah.
And she's over in Prairie Lane.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like right there.
That's right by over where I play pickleball. There's
right there.
Yeah. Somebody who just told me they got dusted off by Johnny Rogers in pickleball.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Taylor?
Who was that?
That's funny though.
Oh,
who am I missing?
Oh, I mean,
he's totally that
absolutely.
Guy. He's totally
like,
that guy.
That seems right up.
And don't let him sandbag you. You will get rolled.
I mean, listen, he's even at his age, he's way more athletically inclined than I am. So
how about that 12 minutes of food talk?
Well, listen, I like food.
It all started from Mac Darrell's.
It all started from not having
How about them apples
when I woke up this morning. So
I still can't believe that is your go-to.
Well, it's just easy, right? Because you take them out of the freezer. By the time I get here, they're
and I'm definitely in the minority. I told you, we have a fridge right outside the weight room at the school.
I wish I had a better option. Like if there was a place that I could just go and get a big order of bacon or sausage and just have it, I would do that. That would be my preferred option here. That doesn't exist that I'm aware of. If it does, someone tell me.
We were doing those breakfasts here and
and I would just
the bacon was unbelievable.
I would just grab a thing of bacon. That's all I would eat here. I didn't eat the pancakes. I didn't eat the eggs. I just wanted a giant thing of bacon. And so that would be my preference.
My buddy's got his son is wrestling. I'm Team Zickman, right?
Yeah.
And Parker yesterday got the French toast sticks, and I think he got a side of bacon this morning. Though before wins, it will be just the French toast sticks. So I think we were learning to I'm like, in my head, I was like, that sounds so backwards. I'm like, Parker, just get the bacon. Just
I would if anybody knows of a place that will just quickly in the morning, because I've tried like calling around to not fast food places and be like, hey, can I have this ready at like X time every morning?
It's a little far from you, but if you like patties,
yeah,
I would try Good Looking. It's 49th and maybe Underwood.
Yeah, it's down in Dundee. I've been there. I like that place a lot. But in terms of getting it on the way to here,
I know it. I don't really
practical.
I don't know enough about like doing recon.
Yeah, I've tried. I have tried, because I would be very interested. Just like, hey, give me a to-go thing of bacon every morning. I will come by. I will pick it up.
So I told you I followed the executive chef from McDonald's on TikTok.
Oh yeah.
So I've got all the hacks.
Mm-hmm.
I know where to get McDonald's breakfast sausage.
Mm-hmm.
And it is exactly McDonald's breakfast sausage. They also have the fries, and they're never in stock. Okay. So everybody must follow him.
I would mess with the fries. I don't really care about the sausage patties enough. They're fine.
See, I'm the total opposite.
Really?
I couldn't care less about found the hash browns.
But the hash browns are pretty good. They do good.
You have to order them though.
Yeah,
I'll send you the brand.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sausage. I bet you we could eat a. Okay, he'll take 2 every morning.
Yeah.
Yep, slice. Yeah, 2 every morning.
I would do that. I don't
greater than bacon or no?
I could do either.
Yeah,
it depends on my mood.
I think people sleep on the sausage patty.
No, I like a sausage patty.
I think it's incredible.
I think I've thought about getting kind of the frozen ones and like throwing them in the microwave while I'm getting ready and then just grabbing them.
That's
on the
what
go.
this is. I'll send it to you.
That might work.
Robbie, I'm telling you, it's a game changer. It's a game changer.
You know what else is a game changer? This is a sports topic now because it's a sports show.
Coach Coop at a speaking event.
Where was Coach Coop last night?
Oh, he's at St. Michael's.
Okay. So I was going to talk about Catilin Clark.
Oh, how funny was she? Where she just casually was like, "Yeah, I was going to break that bad boy from the logo."
I would say that was. Thing in their most iconic moment, right? Like Steph Curry pulling up from 35 against OKC for the winner in overtime back in 2017. One of his most iconic moments, did it exactly. Like, how disappointing would it have been if Catilin Clark just there like shooting free throws?
He just did that to beat going to overtime a couple weeks ago, right on the inbounds.
Yep. No, that was for the winner. That was the winner.
No, to keep it from going. Yeah, I should have just said game winner.
Okay, sorry.
No, it was on me. It was my bad delivery. I said to keep it from going to overtime. Just say the game winner.
I thought you were trying to say to get it to overtime.
No.
And I was like, no, they won on that.
Yeah. Improbable too.
Yeah, but yeah, I love it when the like iconic players do their most iconic thing in their most iconic moments. Like that's so satisfying to me. Where, like you can do in baseball too, right? Like David Ortiz hitting a game-winning home run is way cooler than David Ortiz hitting like a walk-off single, right? And both have happened, right? In 2004 back-to-back games, they happened, right? But it's way cooler when they do their iconic thing, and then you get the photo and whatever. Jordan hit the shot over Russell, and it wasn't like his fadeaway, but it was a pretty iconic Jordan shot. Yeah. But those I was so happy that that's how she did it, because at like Doug's McDermott's a great example. When he got to 3,000, just deep three in somebody's eye, like iconic Doug stuff, right? This was the perfect way for Catilin Clark to break that record.
Were you a little so with records? And that's funny you brought this up because I didn't know this was going to be a thing. But with records, do you care about number of games, 3-point line, not 3-point line? Kept stats, not kept stats.
I think it's important to add context. I'm not going to,
because I noticed the other day you were quick to kind of needle me, not me, but in general,
the Baylor Shireman thing.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny. I think the qualifiers are funny. I care more about that because it's kind of a made up stat. Like 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, 500 assists, 300 3-pointers is a made up thing, and it's impressive as all get out. Don't get me wrong, but it's made up, right? Like. It just, hey, most points of all time, that's a very straightforward, simple thing. Now, I would have had a little bit of an issue if it was Antoine Davis last year from Detroit Mercy had broken Pete's record.
Because of the number of games played?
Yeah, because he had 2 full years on Maravich.
Yeah, but a lot of Baylor's no spring chicken.
No, that's what I mean. But he's not like it. Yes, he's the first to ever do it, but nobody's going to chase down that. Like that's not a record you chase down. It's more of a novelty record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he's the first to ever do it. Nobody's keeping track of somebody else that's getting close to that mark, right? Until they pass it, and then they'll be like, "Oh, he's the second guy to ever do this."
So I got it. This was probably a year and a half ago with regards to Nebraska when freshmen
Couldn't play.
didn't play.
Yeah.
And people were comparing records, and weird. We were arguing about running backs.
Sure.
But because I couldn't get enough people on board with me for I had Amir, because I think at the time I had him in my top 10.
Okay.
But it wasn't his volume.
No, you like the way Amir runs.
I liked what he was doing given what he had to work with.
Sure.
Right? Like I looked at some I kind of fell in love with the degree of difficulty.
Okay, that's fair. And you like the kind of quickness in tight spaces.
I do have whatever. I can't really describe it. I'll describe it as I like guys that look like they're exerting minimum effort.
Okay.
That need the least to go right in order to function at a high level.
Yeah, and Amir did not need much to go right because not much did go right.
So, whatever that descriptors are is kind of what my eye gravitates towards.
And Amir is one of those guys.
So
for sure.
But then I went down this rabbit hole because he was on.
So I got to ask, wait, who's one? Who's LP?
It's not. I don't think it's debatable.
But it's LP, right?
He is number one.
Yeah.
He is number one. His coaches will tell you that he is number one.
The things that he was
Coach
capable
Solich,
of.
Coach Osborne will tell you that LP.
And that's not a knock on anybody else.
It's not a knock on Rozier.
It is just telling you that's how special LP was. Yeah.
He could. The way that I always looked at it is one guy could do all the other guys' runs.
Mm-hmm.
The other guy couldn't do all the other guys' runs.
That makes sense. You couldn't switch places.
No. That was kind of the I don't really give it a second thought. And I love Mike. Like I call him in the morning, over break.
Yeah.
But it's not personal.
We might get into that a little bit more because I think you had something else you wanted to say about the running backs there. We will get to
just records in general.
We will get to quite a bit more. Catilin Clark breaks the all-time women's scoring record. We've got quite a bit more here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio here on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
You are looking live.
You are looking live if you're watching us on the video stream.
I was watching us load.
I know, yeah. We love the internet here. We are.
You talk about first world problems.
Oh yeah.
So like after we like go to war or here in a whenever, like it's gonna like knock out our grids or whatever. Are we prepared?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm guessing.
Hey man, Kim Jong, he's getting a little out of pocket. I don't know if he's getting a wild hair based on what's going on around the world, but I don't know about the old Kim Jong, whatever.
I think it's Un. I think this was Un.
I'm not messing with that guy.
I mean, it's not like he was super like reasoned and rational before. Like it's you say he's out of pocket. It's like it's kind of where he lives.
Well, if he's basing his tactics off of our mics cutting out, then he's got some issues.
Shane,
we know he's got issues.
Shane, you're the man. Shane was giddy this morning because he got to use his four-wheel drive. He said, I haven't got to drive in the snow in a while. Well, this isn't really snow, but I loved using the four-wheel drive. I was like, the simple joys in life. Like diet soda. I'm sandwiched in between two guys that embrace the joys in life of diet soda and using their four-wheel drive.
I didn't get very much sleep last night because I could not wait to get in here.
That's weird. I'm just gonna be honest. That's weird.
I can't wait to use my four-wheel drive in this quarter-inch of wet snow.
It was pretty awesome.
Woo!
It was fantastic.
Let's go to the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline here. We've got Jesse on the line. Jesse, what's going on?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Jesse!
Hey, there he is. I called in. I dropped my daughter off. I'm like, that's Damon.
How we doing, buddy?
Good, man. Long time. I know lots happened since we spoke. And congrats on the young buck there signing the letter.
Thank you. He's a nerd. I appreciate that.
I selfishly was hoping he might take a preferred walk on to Notre Dame or something.
Boy, they came hunting late. Boy, they do a good job.
I don't think Caleb was taking any PWOs. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
They got two good ones with the Rezecs, though. That's for sure.
Yes, they do. I hope they're getting a number 3 here next year.
I said real quick. I said to Mike or my little guy yesterday because I showed him. There's a picture of Anthony here at the sports bar. I was like, man, that picture is sweet.
Yeah,
it just because he's kind of looking down, and I couldn't tweet it out because it's like glass on glass, and it had a little shimmy to it. But I was telling Micah, I don't even know how it came up. I said he's going to be one of those guys that in 10 years we won't remember how awesome he was.
Mm-hmm.
He was incredible, but he was on a really good team, so we may not single out his individual performance. But he was, I marvel. He was unbelievable.
Well, I think that both of those brothers are in the right spot, and I think that if you look at what that staff has done with X. And he wasn't what he is coming out of high school. No,
like he paid his dues.
Yeah, they're going to develop those boys, and if you're a good football player, you're going to be a good football player there too.
I saw Teddy at the basketball game the other night, and he's probably touching 2 and some change now pounds. Like, yeah, he's hanging and banging in the weight room.
Well, hey man, I just want to chime in on Caitlin Clark here. I know you guys are giving some love, and I really appreciate that because I think nationally she's getting love nationally from, I'm going to call it casual fans and Iowa fans, and as she should. The one thing that bothers me that I do feel like, and I don't know if you see this or feel this, I do feel like internal women's basketball people aren't super happy. Like it's almost forced that they have to like her, and the reason would be like they needed a Tiger Woods, they needed a Bird Magic figure, and they have one now. Like this is going to take that sport to the next level. Even when she goes to the WNBA, even if it's one team, it's now a traveling show, and people are going to go to these stadiums, and they're going to be like, "Oh, that was fun. We're going to go back and see it, with or without Caitlin." So she's going to take the sport to another level. So I think that they need to embrace her more than they are. And I see it. I see it with rivals. I see it with just hardcore basketball people.
Jesse, what do you think the hesitation is there for the hardcore crowd that aren't loving Caitlin?
Honest, and it's not that kind of show, but I'm going to go there.
Yeah.
I know what you're going to say.
Her race and sexuality, honestly. Honest to God.
Okay. Because she's a white heterosexual female basketball player.
And maybe some off the court family just preferences too. Politically.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know their backstory.
I don't either.
Yeah, it's it is, and that's fine, and you can be that. But like in that world, you know what I'm saying? In that world, that's not the Tiger Woods they wanted, but that's the Tiger Woods you have. And you know what? Embrace it, because she is going to open doors for other people. And I don't know. I just think everybody needs to get on and stop. Okay. Oh, she flopped with a fan, dude. We've been watching LeBron for 20 some years. Right?
Jesse, I was hoping Golden State made the trade.
We're going to talk about that later. Jesse, appreciate the call for sure. That's really interesting. I want to talk about that.
He's probably not wrong.
No, Jesse, we'll talk to you again soon. I really do appreciate that. That's interesting because I kind of had this conversation with Andrew last week about Taylor Swift.
Okay.
I think
here we go.
I think the hardcore people's objections to Taylor Swift are not even on the radar for the people that she's actually bringing in. The people that have objections to Caitlin Clark, if those are the objections, they've already made up their mind about women's basketball and about Caitlin Clark and about all that, right? The people like me, who I would consider myself a casual women's basketball fan, I had no idea about any of that, or that it was an issue. I mean, obviously I knew she was white because I have eyeballs, right? But like, I couldn't have told you what her orientation was. I couldn't tell you what her political beliefs were. I couldn't tell you any of that. I have no idea.
The only reason I know, number one, I spent an inordinate amount of time in Iowa City.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Number one.
Yeah.
But number two, and I don't know, like her, I'm not on Facebook or anything, so I don't know, like,
like stalking her Instagram
status
or anything like that.
But she was dating McCaffrey.
Oh, okay.
So obviously Coach McCaffrey's son.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I knew. But I mean, I don't have any problems with folks talking about the conversation because maybe it is a thing. I didn't really think about it. I don't know if I agree with Jesse that she's not celebrated.
They just wish it was somebody else.
But the way that, so as I'm listening,
Mhm.
like real time, I'm just,
processing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I went back to the celebrated, tolerated thing. Maybe she's more tolerated than she
By
is.
the hardcore
than she
women's
is
basketball
celebrated.
fans. That's possible. I just
As I listen to it, like
The-
let's say I'm on the Jesse train
sure.
with the latter part, because I mean, I think he spoke some truths.
Mhm.
I'm like, is she? Because I think she it led Sports Center.
Yeah. Well, again, that's what he said. Nationally, from kind of the casual national outside perspective, he was saying that she celebrated, but it's the nitty gritty hardcore fans.
Yeah, but I wouldn't count somebody like Swoops as nitty gritty.
No, probably not. I mean, I that's fair. I just
Right, and she was uneducated, so like at that point,
there's something else going on there.
and I can't like I'm not gonna value that.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not. Look, listen to me, the elitist snob. Hey, if you don't know, I can't listen to you because people could be saying that about me. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
things like data is readily available.
For sure. Well, and I guess the thing that I thought he was going to say, and maybe this is true or not, I don't know, is a lot of times the hardcore fan base, whatever it is,
Mhm.
right? They dislike the casual fan base and they dislike whatever brings in the casual fan base because they're like, well, we've been good for a really long time, right? Like the David Beckham thing with the MLS. The MLS is like, well, we've been good for a long time. Now you're paying attention to this guy who's an aging superstar.
By the way, how would you have liked to have bought in early on the MLS?
Yeah, you'd be making a ton of money now.
Dude, I think they've like quadrupled in value.
Oh, more than that. I think some of them are 10x. The best ones are like 10x in
I mean,
value.
it's, but remember
from
when we
10
didn't know
years
if that
ago.
league was going to work?
Yeah, they were actually really smart. The way they expanded, where they chose to expand, and the pace at which they expanded,
Nah, I'm not to go all sports nerd on you, but
They
I do
were-
like multiple. Yeah, you know what I mean?
they were really smart.
So, like,
But that's what I mean. I think there's like soccer fans are like that a lot. People with bands are like this a lot. They're like, I liked their first album before they had their hit single. It's like, why are you mad that more people like the thing you like?
yeah.
It's the
yeah.
gatekeeping
I
thing, right?
I get it. I remember,
That's where I thought he was.
remember when
gonna
Dave
go.
Matthews started using an electric guitar and people thought he sold out?
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's like, or maybe he just doesn't want every single song to sound the same. Maybe that's a thing,
I get it.
right? Like hardcore fans tend to gatekeep. And so I wonder if that's part of what's happening here with the Caitlin Clark thing. But I got to tell you,
You think Chiefs fans are like, where were you when Joe Delaney was saving kids?
yeah, man, that is a reference. Wow. That's the
I'm-
running back that drowned in the lake, right?
I'm old, man.
Are you surprised that I know that?
No,
Oh,
we
all
got
right.
range.
Well,
We couldn't work together if you didn't.
we'll wrap up hour number one next. Wrap it up hour number one here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube as well. And I want to remind you about Omaha men's basketball because Omaha native Frankie Fiddler is in the top 20 in the NCAA Division I scoring and is leading the Mavericks, Omaha Mavericks men's basketball team in a run for the conference title. They played South Dakota at home last night. They've got South Dakota State at home tomorrow night. Do not miss Omaha and South Dakota State tomorrow night at Baxter. Get your tickets now by calling the box office 402-554-MAVS or by going to omavs.com/ticks. Let's pack the Baxter.
How about my man JJ White getting it going last night? I remember when I first met him, Coach Crandall, who Kenya is a very good family friend, has been for a long time.
Mhm.
I was leaving a job this a couple years ago, and he wanted me to get some stuff signed for him for their auction. This is Coach Crutch's.
Mhm.
Coach Crutch. This is year one. He had just gotten their fundraiser. And I had to get some things from Eric Crouch.
Oh, yeah.
And which turned out to be an amazing conversation on a Saturday morning in the parking lot at UBT. Just two old heads. It's cold, and he's got this sweet Silverado, and we're just out here talking about everything other than why we're really meeting. But anyway,
Sure.
it's like 8:20 in the morning. But he had White in the car with him, and he had just picked him up from the airport. And so I remember in typical DB snarky, sarcastic fashion, I go, because I had just seen him at the Missouri Showcase. And Caleb had got invited, and I still had delusions of grandeur where I'm like, oh, man, maybe he could be recruited to play basketball, because I had no idea, right? So I'm just keeping all the options open.
Pretty sure I told you like 4 years
And
ago.
I'm like, I was like, yeah, you only recruit 6'2" and over guards, huh? Like, why would you throw Mr. Georgia in my face, picking him up in the front seat? He turns out to be a pretty good player.
Not bad. Yeah. 18 last night.
Yeah.
This was nice, efficient 7 of 10 shooting.
I got to give you the good with the bad with me too, right? Because I'm not always right. I can be kind of a jerk sometimes.
I literally remember standing in a studio, and you're telling me about Caleb. I think he was doing some work with like Hunter and some other guys.
Oh, when he was in 8th grade.
Yeah, and I was like, that's all fine and good. I was like, how tall is he?
Yep.
And
I was like, but Ravi's giving him buckets. Look.
You were like 5'9", 5'10", something. I was like, how tall are you? And I was like, how tall is his mom? And I was like, yeah, he's gonna play football, DB.
I still have those videos.
And they were great. They were good videos. You're like, man, he's giving buckets, and like
it was he's
going hard on him.
It was Hunter, Caleb, and Connor Milliken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're showing me these. I was like, man, it's impressive. He's gonna be a real nice high school basketball player.
Dude, how nice was Milliken?
Dude, he's bucket. But I was like, bro, how tall is he?
And he was so that just brings me back. I'm someday I'll write a book. Someday. if anybody cares. I need somebody to. But now with AI,
you want me to ghostwrite it for you? Ghostwrite your book for you?
So this is funny. This is a total sidebar conversation. But we were talking about Coach Rule was at Westside a couple weeks ago, and I told you he brought the whole cavalry. So somehow we got on AI.
Okay. You're talking about artificial intelligence, not the answer.
Right.
Yeah.
And Coach Lamanji and I are like, well, I don't want to speak for Coach Lamanji. I don't know a ton. I said, I'm kind of scared of AI, this, that, the other. And Coach Lamanji's like, he's like, what are we talking about? And I was like, oh, it's this thing, right?
Yeah.
And so he goes, no, watch this. So he pretended to cancel a meeting with me. And he basically said a couple words, and then he's like, make it sound professional, or make it sound, I can't remember the adjective he used. And then he read to me what AI came
up with. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is flat out scary. So say all that to say maybe it was an AI thing and it wasn't really him.
You got to watch out. You're okay until they become self-aware. Then you've got to.
You didn't just say that, did you?
Yeah.
Self-awareness. What is that?
Then you've got a Terminator situation on your hands here.
What is that? Do we have to take some inventory?
Oh, not you. I'm at the AI. When the AI becomes self-aware, then you're in trouble.
I about got kicked out of the Tree of Trust yesterday. I was talking about recruiting with a couple of guys and what's going on with their family. And we were talking about transfers from high school to college to whatever. And I'm like, I can't even believe I said this, but some people in the conversation got the depth of it. But I'm like, you guys, you know what? Like, just stop. Like, and it started with wrestling, right? Because they're like, such and such and such and such this school gets a bad rap, or this city, and wrestling and small towns have been doing this forever, and trying to be the best. And I said, hey, listen, I'm not mad at anybody for wanting the best for their kids. I said, some people sacrifice their family for their feelings. Other people sacrifice their feelings for their family.
Sure.
You got to decide which side of the street you're playing on. But everybody does it. It's not just athletics. No. It's not just the job. Sometimes it's in relationships.
Everybody.
Do you sacrifice
your
the greater good for your feelings, or do you sacrifice your feelings for the greater good? Like, that's self-inventory. It was very spirited conversation as we're watching teams scoring real time at state wrestling.
Well, and speaking of state wrestling, I suppose I should set up the show real quick.
Do we have to?
I think Sasha's going to get mad at us if we don't. Coming up at 8 o'clock, we're
I
going to
thought
talk.
she was a kinder, gentler Sasha.
I don't know. I didn't know her that well before, so we didn't cross paths at the old place.
She's fantastic.
Really? Because she left about the time I was coming in, so we didn't really get to know each other at the old place.
When I begged for them to, no, don't let her get. Tell them back up the brinks. Everybody thought they were Teflon at the time.
Yeah. I don't know. Coming up at 8, we've got Matt Coatney. He's the play-by-play voice for Nebraska.
We talk hoops in perspective.
Absolutely. Let's do it. And then coming up at 9, we will talk to our guy, Mike Sautter. He's been at state wrestling yesterday. He'll be there again today. He was at the game of the week, Concordia DC West last night. We will get to a bunch of stuff with Mike this morning and then wrapping up the show with Matty Vrzal at 9:45. But before, we've got a few minutes here. I wanted to talk about earlier this week, you were talking about comparisons for Catilin Clark.
Yeah.
Right? You were talking about.
Was this with Sam?
Yeah, it was with Sam. And you're like, I feel kind of bad. Like, am I being like misogynistic or whatever, or like toxic masculine, whatever term you used? Like, first hour on your first day back. I was like, all right, cool, DB. It was fun while it lasted.
Shane, do we like this guy? I feel like I don't like him.
You keep going back.
Shane ain't listening.
Yeah.
Shane doesn't listen to the show.
All right, I
probably
probably
say about that.
Exactly, Coach Hoiberg.
So you were like, hey, I kind of feel bad. Like, should I feel bad that all my comps are men for Catilin Clark? And I actually kind of stuck in my head a little bit. And
why didn't you bail me out?
Well, because I didn't have an answer at the time, but I think I do now.
Okay. 5 days later.
Well, listen, I'm a deep thinker. I like to
5 days later go see the doctor.
I like to process things.
Were you a DOC fan? You weren't around for
what's DOC?
The guy, he sang the formula. He was with Death Row early. Got no car accident. Crushed his larynx.
Like Stephon Johnson at USC?
High energy, rolling with the wisdom.
You remember him? That running back USC that dropped the bar on his neck?
I know everything about USC.
I only know one doc.
And that's totally on
That's totally on me.
Well played.
I don't even know what we're doing out there.
We're gonna be all right.
So the thing somebody had said this, so this is not an original thought, which is not shocking, but I would give credit if I could remember who it was. It just sometimes things pop in my head, and I was like, I heard that somewhere. That makes sense. I think we look at the women's game as if it's been around the entire time the men's game has, and that's just not the case. Catilin Clark doesn't have a women's comp because she's the first of this type of player that we've seen in women's basketball.
So do you feel bad that you threw out Taurasi the other day? And I was like, she's not Taurasi.
That was Sam. I didn't throw out Taurasi.
Okay.
So I didn't feel
I know
bad
it's one of you guys with a beard.
One of you guys I was talking to. I don't know which one. But no, because Catilin Clark, I believe, is unique in terms of her place in women's basketball at this point. Now, I believe there will be another Catilin Clark at some point, or at least somebody in the same mold. Whether they're as good as Catilin Clark or not, I don't know. But this is how sports progress. You have to remember that Title IX was, 50 years ago?
Yeah.
Something like that?
At some point, I'd love to talk about that because that has turned into something.
But my point is,
you
were talking about unrecorded records and stuff with Woodard.
Well, did you read Omaha.com this morning?
Yeah.
With the Lynette Woodard thing?
Yeah,
and I was like, we sat out, why'd you sit on this?
Right. This could have been this was an issue or a topic that could have been brought along.
Right.
But because it's for eyeballs, right? Because Catilin Clark breaks the record. All right, let's drop this other thing over here. Right. But my point is the women's game is in a different part of its evolution than the men's game is. So to compare the women's game to current men's game isn't fair. But also when you're comparing a new transcendent type of women's player, there's a legitimate chance that we haven't seen Catilin
Okay,
Clark
but let me
before.
ask you something.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but even in 2024,
yeah,
is there some sort of guilt I need to be carrying for letting women's
so.
sports be women's sports and men's sports being men's sports?
You're not taking anything away from Catilin Clark. All you're saying is we haven't seen it in women's basketball before.
Because I know in my heart of hearts, Jesse Owens would dust Florence Griffith Joyner. You know what? there are just some things we don't do it with. So why in team sports do we try to make the equivalent?
That's an interesting question. We'll come back with Matt Coatney coming up next on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined on the Warhorse Sportsbook Hotline by Matt Coatney, play-by-play voice of Nebraska women's basketball. Matt, how are you this morning?
Gentlemen, it is a great day to be with you. I enjoy being on with you guys. Thank you.
MC, how we doing, buddy? I feel like we should be in the studio. You should be teaching me music or telling jokes or adjusting my seat. This is probably a bigger treat for me than it is for you.
You know, I enjoy our football broadcast so much because DB doesn't realize he's on the radio. He thinks he's a public speaker because he's working the room. He's looking at Sharpie, then he looks at Benny Mack, then he turns to the back row and looks at me, then he looks at the field like he's addressing the game officials. Eye contact on radio is first team All-American.
It's a bad habit. I'm telling you, Coach, I got it from my dad. He's like, you need to look at who you're talking to so they know you're talking to them. So I'm constantly doing that. I apologize.
I know, it's the greatest thing in the world. It makes me pay attention. I can zoom off his face. I'm like, nope, DB's going to look at me. I gotta get my contact.
And you're like 15 feet's an exaggeration. You're like 6 feet above me in the catbird seat, too. So I'm like breaking my neck. I'm like, Coach, what do you think? Like, what are you seeing?
Well, Matt, I'm glad that he's not just helpless with me and that his other jobs, people have to help him with menial tasks like fixing his chair height and stuff as well.
Have you ever sat in a chair after Damon Benning? I mean,
he's well aware. I'm a high chair guy.
Oh, yeah. I used to go at the old studio. I used to just ride that thing down like an elevator, just like all the way to the bottom floor.
Yeah.
He's basically standing up. I don't know why he has a chair.
You have got to have been a veteran of spaghetti westerns in order to get in a Damon Benning chair. I mean, you could be a professional rodeo rider if you can follow Damon Benning.
Do you remember that first day?
Limbo underneath the height of that chair every time.
I wouldn't even have to duck. I'm just walking right
a couple
under.
of years ago, and Coach like, who's sitting in the high chair?
I mean, I thought it was a joke the first time I came in after DB was in our studio. I'm like, nope, that's just how he said.
I'm sorry. I'll get that.
Matt, I wanted to go back to last week where obviously you had that great game between Nebraska and Iowa. Everybody's there kind of watching to see if Catilin Clark can break the all-time scoring record. And all of a sudden, a Nebraska comeback sort of broke out. How, as you're watching that and kind of as you're preparing for that game, it's kind of challenging being the broadcaster on the other side of history, right? Or potentially on the other side of history. How did you prepare for potentially having to call that moment? Obviously that didn't happen, but I'm sure it's something you thought about.
It's something I thought about. I got interviewed a lot last week, and everybody asked me the same question you just asked me. How are you going to handle it? And I said, this is the Huskers radio network, not the Catilin Clark radio network, and certainly not the Iowa radio network. We're going to pay the proper respect to the moment. Obviously, I vote on many, many national committees. I've been part of women's sports since 1982, since the first year of Division I. I have great respect for all women's sports, but my listening audience cares about Jazz Shelley and Alexis Markowski. And so that was my focus. And the other thing that Jeff Reich and I consistently told people was we've seen the Nebraska program beat the number 2 team in the nation before. That happened in 2005 when eventual national champion Baylor fell in the Devaney Center. And I said, a team that gets overlooked is very dangerous. Mm-hmm. And I said, and we're not going to forget that on our broadcast. And I don't think we did. We gave the Catilin Clark story its due attention, certainly, but there were lots of other outlets. If you really wanted to know all about Catilin Clark that you could tune into, we wanted to make sure the Nebraska story was well represented and well covered.
This team is a perfect example of expectation levels kind of being fluid. I thought You and I talked about this. I think early on I was like, oh my gosh, this Nebraska team may be better than I thought at this particular juncture from what I thought during the regular season. And as it's playing out, you have the big win, and most recently you're in Columbus and kind of took that one on the chin. And Ohio State is good. That was the only other team at the time to have beaten Iowa. When you're looking at staying in the moment, where is this basketball team relative to what you thought you were getting at the beginning of the season?
Well, it's all about Natalie Potts, okay? Because there was a big chunk. I know you and I talked about this. When Allison Widener went down, that was a gut punch because Widener gave Nebraska the ability to come off the bounce from the wing and get to the free throw line, and an elite wing defender. You don't just replace those people. What we didn't know at the time was the impact that Natalie Potts, at the time, what I call a 13th grader. You've not seen him play in a college game. Missouri State High School Player of the Year, but I looked at her early in practice and said, is going to have to gain at least 10 pounds before she can post up anybody in the Big Ten. To Amy Williams' credit, they've not used her that way. She is an elite on-the-ball defender. Her length,
she's long
on the wing. She's got some length. But here's the thing, DB, that you can't measure just by looking at somebody is their basketball instincts and their IQ. She is a winner. And when she's at the front of a 1-2-2 half-court trap, it bothers other teams. She's deceptively quick, and she's like an antelope in transition. So that was a factor that I really hadn't thought about. And then replacing Izzy Bourne, Jessica Petrie, different kind of player, but really has kind of done that and has given really good minutes in relief of Alexis Markowski. The other thing is Markowski's game has been so much more consistent this year. She's really not been in foul trouble much at all, maybe once or twice. She has been in double figures pretty much every game until the Ohio State game.
And she's playing 30 minutes a night.
Yeah, no, she and Jazz Shelley are playing significant minutes. In Amy Williams' system, she'd prefer they wouldn't play that much. But so those are the things that we really didn't understand: the consistency of Markowski, the impact that Potts was going to have, and then how Jessica Petrie could come in and really give Markowski a blow for those times that she's not in there. Look, Nebraska has been leading the Big Ten in rebound margin throughout the year, and that was my number one thing I thought Nebraska would struggle with this year, and so far it hasn't been an issue.
We're talking with Matt Coatney, play-by-play voice for Nebraska women's basketball. Matt, you had kind of a roller coaster last week, right? You've got the high of beating Iowa, keeping Caitlin Clark from the record. Then you've got the low of the performance against a really good Ohio State team where I'm sure they hoped to have at least a better showing than what happened there, but Ohio State just kind of jumped on them. How do you think that type of week affects the rest of the regular season as they've got 4 games left to close out their schedule?
This is what I said at the end of the broadcast the other day. Sometimes we can get too big into the moment.
Yeah.
If you'd have told me after the dreadful loss to Rutgers that Nebraska going on the road at Michigan, okay, which was an NCAA tournament team last year, home to the number 2 ranked team in the country in Iowa, and then on the road at number 2 Ohio State, did they go 2-1? I'd take that every time. Okay, so if you start looking at the season in chunks, you take a look at that 3-game stretch. That was a pretty impressive stretch by Nebraska. And throughout the margin, Nebraska had 1 day to prepare for Ohio State, coming off all the afterglow of that. And I talked to Kevin McGuff. I've known Kevin McGuff, Ohio State's head coach, for about 20 years. He came up after the game to talk to me, and he said, look, you didn't sneak in here. He said, we wanted to break that number 2 jinx. Pretty much every week, if the number 2 team in the country gets replaced like it did this week, that new number 2 has lost. And Ohio State didn't want to be the newest victim of that. But the other thing I'm going to say here is that coming up, Nebraska has their final 4 games, 2 at home and 2 on the road, all winnable games. And I even hate saying that because people are like, oh, well, you'll be favored in these 4 games. Well, Nebraska lost at home to Rutgers, okay? You have got to not think of these 4 games in that stretch, but since we're talking about it, we will. Nebraska has a really good chance. If they can go 3-1 in this stretch, then I feel really, really good about this season. They erased the Rutgers loss with the win over Iowa, and maybe erased it and then times 0.5. If they just take care of business in 3 of the last 4 here, right, their NCAA tournament chances, I think, are really good.
So, Matt, when you look at kind of everybody always talks about 20 wins. I that's definitely changed in my opinion. It's like winning 200 games in baseball as a pitcher or 300. Like you have to kind of adjust your eyeballs in terms of what 20 means. But you do go 3-1, and obviously March 6th, I think, starts the first round of the Big Ten tournament. Is Nebraska, in your opinion, able to handle not looking ahead, but thinking big picture? Can they? Is this a team where you look at their maturity and you're like, okay, we can speak it into existence, but still stay dialed in the moment?
I think so, and here's why. One of the things I asked Amy Williams before the Iowa game was, how have you kept your team focused and away from the noise here on Super Bowl Sunday with the Caitlin Clark circus, is what I called it. And she said, we've embraced it. I told everybody, you're not going to go through this again, so let's enjoy it. And I think I really like that. That was refreshing from a coach, I thought.
She's so stinking competitive.
Yeah. Really, she is. And I love that about Amy. And so I don't think the Huskers are going to have a hard time staying focused because of their leadership with Markowski and Jazz Shelley, but especially with Amy Williams. So I think missing the NCAA tournament last year didn't sit well with those two. And I really think Jazz Shelley, a major reason she came back here was to get back to the NCAA tournament. So I think they're very focused on that, and they put themselves in a great position. Like I said, I wouldn't put too much into that Ohio State loss. The margin, I think, is what gets people. It got away. Look, Ohio State, I think, is a Final Four team. They've got
they got a lot of pieces. 8
graduate students or second or fifth year seniors. They're grown women.
And how about how they weathered the storm against Iowa to come back and win that game when they trailed for a good portion?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love I'm watching, obviously, Matt, and I'm like, their poise, I think, is undersold.
No, it is. And what enough people aren't talking about is they added Celeste Taylor from Duke as a fifth-year graduate student. She was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year. And I talked to Kevin McGuff about this just in private after the game. I said, Kevin, you have always tried to slow teams down with that suffocating backcourt trap. But then the knock on you has always been, if you can get Ohio State to play four-court defense, they're vulnerable. He goes, oh, yeah. I said, not anymore, not with Taylor. That's a whole different dimension. So they're the complete package. And the difference between Ohio State and Iowa is if we were playing a Red Rover game, you'd Red Rover and call Caitlin Clark on over, and that's it if you're Ohio State. There's nobody else on that Iowa team that you're going to replace. Ohio State's got a great starting 5 and a really good bench. And that's why I think they're the complete package.
All right, I'm going to get you out of here on this, Matt, because I love your kind of analogies, and usually it's music, sometimes it's food. You're just creative. I refer to Jazz Shelley as kind of this reluctant superstar, right? She's very other-centered. She's super good-natured. People forget she was a 4-star coming out. She's very, very capable. When you look at like her game and what this team needs, how much is she fighting her personality versus, I think deep down, you know what, DB, she's got it in her. Like, what's that kind of balance look like for you down the stretch here?
I see where you're coming from there. I think that Jazz was pretty candid after the Iowa game that she's been in a funk lately, and she's kind of finding herself. I really think it has taken her this long to learn how to play without Sam Hybee.
Good
point. I think sometimes, you can have great players around you, but if you're not used to playing with them, you kind of have to relearn how you do things. And I don't think Jazz necessarily is a reluctant superstar. I think she's trying to figure out how she does that with the group of people around her. Darian White has been out the last couple of games or been limited due to injury. So there's been some different pieces in that backcourt, but sometimes you have to kind of find your way before you remember who you are. And I think what really is helping Jazz right now is that her grandparents are here and her mom is in country, and they're going to be here through the Big Ten tournament.
Oh, nice.
And you can just see a calmness with Jazz Shelley with her family here. And I think that is something else. And also never forget, Izzy Bourne, went on and played in the pros, and that's a similar aged Aussie. And Jazz hasn't had her around this year. So it's been an adjustment period for Jazz. Happy she's come back. I really think that Iowa game gave her a huge boost that, hey, I am who I am, and this is how I do it. So that's what I think that we're going to see.
Missing 25 minutes from Darian White too, like that. That's a good point, man. I don't want to undersell that. She logs heavy minutes.
And and Darian wanted back for that Iowa game. I think probably most people would have set out that Iowa game. Darian went out there, looked like the Bionic Woman out there with that leg wrap on. Yeah, tough. Yeah, I could drop the Bionic Woman. There's people out there going, "What is he even talking about?"
Hey, I actually. So when I first started streaming, one of the there's 3 things that I went back and watched: The Incredible Hulk, The Bionic Woman, and The $6 Million Man.
Steve Austin, a man barely alive. We can rebuild him. One of the greatest openings in television history.
Yeah.
You kidding me? That was great.
Maddie, shout out Lindsey Wagner. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, MC.
Hey, you guys are the best. Thanks for having me on.
That's Matt Coatney, play-by-play voice for Nebraska women's basketball. That last few minutes there was just a couple of old dudes remembering stuff that I wasn't born for.
Oh, man, the Bionic Woman, that was legit.
I'm aware of the $6 Million Man. Like, I know the opening and stuff like that. I didn't really watch it. I'm aware of the Incredible Hulk because Lou Ferrigno. I was like really into bodybuilding for a while, so I got the Lou Ferrigno deal.
It's a great television show.
Did I ever tell you
a great viewing night
that I was in the same room as Lou Ferrigno once?
What, were you guys like benching together?
No,
like 1-year-old Ravi.
This was the randomest thing in the world. So
give me the weights.
My ex before
was he at Comic-Con?
No, he was over.
I met him at. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say you mentioned Comic-Con. I met him at a World of Wheels.
Wow.
No, he was over here across the street at a wedding at this hotel over. I think the embassy over here. So my ex, before we were married, worked over there.
This is a great story. I remember you telling me this.
Yeah, she worked over there in the banquets, and they used to have all these weddings, especially like Indian families. They would have a ton of weddings over there. I don't know why. That's just where the Indian families have their weddings. I didn't personally either one, but so we.
Can you imagine me saying, "Oh man." That's where all the black people get married, man. I mean, I don't know why, man. That's just where all the brothers get married.
It just is. Like, I don't know. They like the embassy suites over there for some reason. But
I don't even know where that would be.
So I am not going to say any comments.
Yeah, please don't. Because I knew what was coming. There was going to be some snark in there.
Nope,
You're
not
like,
a word. I'm just moving on to my Lou Ferrigno story. So I'm done. To be clear, I was not invited to this wedding. My ex is just working the wedding.
You
right?
weren't like the others?
And so she texts me and she goes, "Hey, there's an Indian wedding going on here. You should come crash it."
Were you offended?
No, I wasn't at all. I was like, absolutely. My first question was open bar ? Because I mean, like if you can get a drink, it doesn't matter if you kick you out or not. Like worth the time, right? So I like get all suited and booted and whatever. Like I get all dressed up and like wearing the suit and everything. And I roll up to the embassy to go to this wedding. And
is this pre-wedding crashers?
No, this is post. This is
okay,
post.
Okay.
But I mean, listen, if I'm being totally honest here, my dad probably knew one or both of the families.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
Listen, my dad's a very social creature. And a lot of the Indian families, they go to there's only the one Indian or Hindu temple here. So like there's a lot of overlap. Okay. And so I roll up to this wedding. First thing I do, I go to the bar, get my drink. That way, if I get kicked out, that's a win, right?
Yeah.
So I'm getting there as they're kind of doing some speeches and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I go sit in the back. And one of the speeches, the guy goes, "Hey, I want to thank Lou for being here came all the way from Florida. And I'm like, that's weird to just single some guy out. And then Lou Ferrigno stands up out of the middle of 400 Indian people. You've got the Incredible Hulk. I might have just killed Damon. And so I'm in the back of the room at this wedding I'm not supposed to be at. And the Incredible Hulk is like standing and waving at people, being like, hey, thanks for calling me out here. And yeah, I ended up, nobody.
Do you know what I'm dying to ask? I
for it.
think this is legit.
Yeah.
Is he bigger than everybody else in the room?
Yes. Yeah. I was the second biggest person in that room that night.
I'm sorry.
I was the second biggest. I mean, my dad's like 5'3". It's a valid question.
Oh, I just was wondering.
But no, it's. So I was there the whole night. Not a single time did a person ask who I was or why I was there. Just completely under the radar.
Just act like you belong, huh?
Absolutely. I was wearing the suit. I didn't know this at the time. I ended up dancing with the bride's sister for most of the night. No one asked who I was. Me and the DJs were like taking shots of Patron because apparently like Indian people love Patron. I didn't know that was the thing, but I guess it is. It is. And like they were all about it. And so me and the DJ and then this guy.
Do you think Sasha has the shakes right now, or you think she's good?
I'm just telling a personal story about a thing that happened in my life. I don't know how this is problematic at all.
I would not have guessed Patron.
I wouldn't have either. But it was like the thing that everybody, because I was sort of a hit at this wedding. So a lot of people were like, hey, let's go get a shot with this guy. So maybe they knew I wasn't supposed to be there, but they were happy I was there anyway because I was having a good time. So they were just like, hey, let's go get a shot with this guy. And every single time it was Patron. Every time. It may be where my affinity for tequila comes from, to be honest. It was like, man, that was a fun night. I enjoyed tequila. But no, and so I am there till the very end. Dancing with the bride's sister. I'm dancing like back to back with the groom at one point, and he just looks over at me. I was like, yeah, what's up? No one ever asks who I am. So I'm there, and I am not well to drive home, right? And so I asked my ex who was working the thing. I was like, hey, can you give me a ride home? And she's like, yeah, but I got to clean up and stuff. So I'm just drunk after this Indian wedding, helping like stack chairs and stuff in my suit. And then I get a ride home. But that's how I met Lou Ferrigno.
Oh,
you have any follow-up questions? It seems like you have a lot of things you want to say.
I'm glad it's just not always me like that steps in it during story time.
How did I step in it? I thought that was a flawless story. I didn't think there was anything weird that happened there.
No.
That's true. All of that happened.
No generalizations. No.
It's not generalization. All those things.
Stereotyping. Nothing.
There's no generalizations. All those things actually happened.
Oh, I'm with you.
All facts.
You didn't get Lou mad or anything, did you?
No.
We wouldn't.
We wouldn't like it when he's angry, right?
Exactly.
Coming up next, probably more of the show, unless they kick us off the air. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next. We're halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. If you missed the end of last segment, you should go back and listen. I thought Damon was going to stop breathing for a minute.
Well, then Asian Wyatt sent me a text. I don't think I could read it.
I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a safe space for you to land. If he had sent me the text, maybe I've got a little more leeway there, but
you can read anything once.
Nope.
Right.
Nope.
Right. Good point.
Nope. That's not true. That is not true.
You can say anything once.
A lot of
finish up with Matt Coatney, man. Big one coming up with Purdue.
A lot of comments on the YouTube stream.
Oh boy.
I don't know how many of these we want to get to.
I don't think we can read a lot of those.
Okay, so Travis, this is actually a real one. So Travis asked if there's enough space in that hotel for the groom to ride in on a horse and for like the multi-day deal. That's a real thing. At Indian weddings, the groom will often ride in on a horse. There's also a fire if they're doing a traditional Indian wedding, which a lot of the hotels around here, I don't know if that's why they have them over there because they let them start a fire or not.
Yeah.
But a lot of hotels will not let you start a fire inside the building.
So we
imagine that.
Micah was playing in, I can't remember. Was it Chicago? Yeah, I think it was Chicago.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Oh, no, I remember. It was last summer because I remember Isaiah McMorrison's dad and I had some really good conversations before he committed. So it was Chicago. And there was a wedding in the hotel that was an Indian wedding.
Mhm.
And there were roughly 234,000 people at this wedding.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
And do you guys, can I say you guys?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So
So
that particular subset of the culture.
is it
that better?
traditional to give away a vehicle?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. So there were like two nice vehicles.
Yeah.
And there was this procession as people all walk. I'm trying not to use a demonstrative to describe a group of people. But,
That's probably a good call.
okay. So
they were walking out.
and they like got in the vehicles, but there were like these DJs that pulled up with this huge truck that had speakers
Yeah. Okay.
and literally were just dancing.
Like a little parking lot party.
It's 9 a.m. So it's probably post the wedding. Is that like a celebratory send-off? Have you seen enough of those?
I haven't been to. I haven't.
It was
seen that before, but I will say this: Indian people tend to be a little extra, so it does not surprise me. I don't think that's like a traditional. I don't think it's like a traditional Indian thing.
Yeah.
Extra as in they go all out.
Yes, yeah. They're a little bougie.
Welcome to 2024, Shane.
They're a little bougie like me. Like I come by my bouginess, honestly, right? And so it doesn't surprise me by any means. I don't think that's a tradition.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was.
But the fire, the multi-day wedding, and the groom riding in on a horse, those are traditional. Like wedding
and
in
they
India,
like rolled in these carts that had like frozen treats in there.
Yeah,
and it was weird because it was in the morning.
Well, time of day doesn't matter when you're having a. Well, listen, if you're having a multi-day party,
they were like fancy popsicles. I'm sure there was like something to the backstory, but like
I'm just saying, if you're having a multi-day party,
yeah,
the time of day stops mattering at some point, right?
Are you guys being serious with the horse thing?
Yes, no, absolutely.
Who's you guys? I'm not telling this story.
No, it is traditional. In a traditional Indian wedding, the groom comes in on a horse.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's super cool.
Yeah.
Where's Kugler when we need him? This is my horse. My horse is amazing.
If you go to an Indian wedding in India, those things last legit a week.
Yeah, there's probably 100%
That's
chance
never gonna happen.
that will never happen.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
but like the bride and groom don't even show up till like day 3 of this week-long wedding. Like it's a whole thing. So when I tell you they're extra, that's what I mean. They have a week-long wedding.
Interesting.
Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
Anyway,
I have a question. Were you upset about Wilks getting fired?
No, I wasn't upset. I thought maybe he was being scapegoated a little bit.
Oh, you think?
But I don't think it was just that. I don't know that it was a great fit. I do think the defense underperformed for large parts of this year. I thought they played really well in the Super Bowl.
So I keep hearing that.
Okay.
But statistically, their best defense in 3 years.
Yeah, that's fair. But they had pretty.
Is that fair?
They had pretty glaring weaknesses and lapses. So overall, yes, statistically they were very good. But I think they sort of beat up on the weak a little bit, and that skewed the statistics some. Like somebody was. I'm going to get in not trouble here. Not any more trouble than the Indian conversation, so we're fine. Somebody
He's not like the others.
Somebody tweeted at me a couple weeks ago about how great Ryan Nembhard's stats were.
Yeah,
this year, right? Because he had first of all, he had a terrible start to the year. He shooting like 17%. That's a real number from 3. And then he went on this stretch of he had 30 assists and no turnovers over the course of like 4 games. The net ranking of those teams over the course of the games that he played was in like the 250s. Okay. So you can beat up on the weak a little bit there and skew the numbers. Like if Ryan Nembhard doesn't have better numbers at a low major than he had at Creighton, I would be concerned. The conference is a low major. Gonzaga.
Oh, I was gonna say
West Coast Conference is a low major conference. Am I wrong?
You blasphemer.
No. Gonzaga is a great basketball program.
Yeah.
They play in a low major conference.
Yeah, they just hammered Marymount last night.
Yeah, they just go out and they look at their conference schedule. It is all 250 plus.
I think they have to win their conference tournament.
They do.
Is Gonzaga in? I don't think Gonzaga.
No, Gonzaga has to win their tournament.
Although the Kentucky win will be a nice.
It will
boost,
but I think they've lost too many games to be. They might get the benefit of the doubt because they're Gonzaga, but if you blind resume them, they're not in.
Yeah.
But my point is, I think the numbers for Wilks' defense were a little inflated by beating up on the weak teams.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
when they played good teams, they had real lapses.
You hired a guy that pressured 47% of the time.
Yep.
His last year in Carolina.
Yep.
And you're mad about pressures?
I'm not mad about pressures. I'm mad about the lapses that the pressures caused.
Okay. Are we having this conversation if Greenlaw plays?
Probably not.
See, that's why. So you don't have any qualms trying to work around that?
Listen, I wouldn't have had a problem.
I love when you say listen as though I'm not. Listen. I mean, listen.
Some people you do shows with, you have to qualify with that.
He's on a roll. He's on a roll this morning, folks. Came in hot. I couldn't even say anything when you walked in. You're like, yeah, I know. I was like, ooh, I'm gonna keep it pushing.
I mean, when I roll up at 6:57, it didn't. The morning didn't go how I wanted it to. Okay.
So what annoyed you when I said way to plan ahead?
Yeah, no. When I was like, I know, man. Like, I know. I think sometimes, listen. I think sometimes you forget that I'm not one of your high school kids.
Yeah.
And so because we kind of have like a big brother, little brother dynamic here. And
I was being sarcastic.
I figured. But I was upset enough at myself in that moment that it didn't land.
And you nipped it in the bud when you came in, though. You're like, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
like zip it, Marty. Don't say a word.
I was frustrated. I needed a couple minutes before it was funny, okay? I'm self-aware. Like, I get it.
This dude is dying over here. Shane, is he funny? Is Ravi a funny guy?
I didn't think you could say funny anymore.
I think you can.
Like him in Circus the other day. What? I didn't think he'd say Circus on the
Well,
air.
didn't they get rid of the circus?
The Barnum and Bailey shut down, didn't it?
Yeah.
Who was
So I don't
the
think
other,
you
who
can
was
say
the other
circus
one that used
anymore.
to come here?
Ringling Brothers?
Shriners?
Tangier?
Yeah. I almost said Tangier, but that's Mike, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's it.
So it's Tangier.
Tangier or Tangier, yeah.
I don't think
Like
it's
the hotel?
Tangier?
I don't think it's that.
Tangier? Well, it depends on what part of the country you're from.
Okay.
You got a little accent. It might be Tangier.
Stop it.
What?
Stop it.
So you can
dialects are
So you
different.
can say circus? Like a circus delay or whatever.
Cirque du
down there?
Soleil?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's
Okay.
safe.
My notepad,
Yeah.
coincidentally, is Cirque du Soleil.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
I was writing on random things, and one of the guys was like, "Hey,
Did you go to Cirque du Soleil?
no,
Oh, okay. That's a cool notepad, though.
yeah, Josh gave this to me.
That's nice. I like that. At the
Odson.
Bellagio.
Yeah, so they must have had extras.
Odson's a good dude. I like Odson.
Dude, he's a nut job.
Yeah, that's why I like him. We're like two peas.
So
We're like peas and carrots.
So I don't have to write on the back of envelopes, and
That's true. You're just like jotting notes down to me all the time, and it's
I
on,
know on whatever, right?
it's on like your bank statement or something. I'm
It's like,
what's
but now-
happening here?
But now I have.
Is that
a-
your mortgage, DB? Don't
Yeah.
write notes on that. You need that.
Now I have an actual.
Is that for your lines?
That's important.
I
for
mean,
who?
For your lines, for your betting and all that stuff?
I don't even do that. I would just look. I don't want to write it. I don't write it down.
No, it
I
doesn't-
mean, what else would you write in a notebook from a casino hotel though?
just any
Cirque du
notes.
Soleil?
It's not. It doesn't have to. Listen. Do you know how notebooks work, Shane?
All right, this says 10 to 12 minutes. This says Walter Abercrombie, Darius Kasparaitis, Mike Marshall.
Yeah, those are your random athletes, your
And-
random loves
And
from
then there's nothing on
Valentine's Day.
there's nothing on this one.
Shane. I think we forgot to play the music. I think we got to get out. Am I right?
Well, I got all into that. That's probably my fault right there.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. All
Yeah.
right. Well,
no,
we'll
we're
be,
close. 8:38.
we'll be
Wow.
back. We'll be back to wrap up hour number 2.
I just want to be a fly on the wall watching Sasha.
Oh, I thought you were going to say at the Indian wedding watching me and the Hulk.
No.
Hulk. Coming up next, we'll wrap up hour number 2 if they still let us on the air. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla, Hurrdat
Wow.
Sports Radio.
Wow.
Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And we are brought to you by our friends at the Omaha Supernovas. Come out there in Sin City.
Yeah, convincing.
It was like 25-15 first set. They got after it from the jump.
Can we call Coach Bird, or is that for just her close circle?
Everything I get says Bird in there, so I think we're good.
Yeah, she sent a message.
Absolutely. They had a
I like
dominant.
her. She has a cool radio voice.
She
kind
does.
of raspy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like from coaching her girls real hard.
Yeah.
Although being out of town in Vegas for an 8:00 interview may have had something to
might have been part of the
because that
issue.
was not pre-recorded.
No, that was not. That was live. We're doing it live.
Good job, Brent.
Great. You are looking live.
How about a beer?
I actually saw that when the other part, not when Brent said that, but when Brent said that when we were doing it live, I actually saw that live.
Really?
Yeah.
Saw what live?
The whole what that came from. We're doing it live. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Who
was that? O'Reilly?
Yeah, it was O'Reilly.
Was it?
Yeah. Yeah, he was cursing. He was saying some of the words on TV that you can't say.
You just happened to be watching it.
I
in the
literally just
world?
it was I was in the kitchen watching that, and that got done. I went out to the living room and I was trying to explain it to my parents what I saw, and trying to tell them the curse words. That didn't go over so well.
What was that, like the bleep it, let's do it live?
Yeah.
Okay. What you should do live is go watch the Omaha Supernovas on Sunday, 5 p.m. back here at home at the CHI Health Center against the Orlando Valkyries. You can go and get tickets at supernovas.com. Check out their schedule. Check out the merch they've got as well. Anything you want to know about the Supernovas, and to get tickets, supernovas.com. That's Sunday at the CHI Health Center, 5 p.m. first serve. What would you like to talk about? That show got away from us a little bit in the second hour.
Well, you almost got me distracted because you said the food at Indian weddings is super legit. And I was like, how can you close talk to anybody with Indian food on the menu because you taste it so much? But
there's a lot of strong flavors.
Maybe almost you guys, maybe people carry breath mints and stuff like that.
Well,
I'm going to move off.
So
of that.
at nicer weddings, you've got palate cleansers. So you got kind of these like sorbet deals. Have you ever been to one of those?
Maybe that's why ice cream was a thing in the containers.
Maybe, yeah. So if you go to some Indian restaurants around town have them, but at like nicer weddings, when you've got like multi-courses, they'll give you a little palate cleanser to clean out sort of the taste from the previous course. Yeah. That also usually give you something at the end of the meal too to kind of freshen things up a little bit.
Yeah, I can't imagine orange sorbet is helping me with curry and turmeric.
Well, it depends on what you get too. Some of them are less spice forward in terms of how they linger.
I take turmeric, and I have to give myself, that's about a 4:45 a.m.er to give myself a chance to brush for the third time.
The cute curcumin, is that?
It's turmeric,
mm-hmm.
a pinch of cayenne,
mm-hmm.
a little honey, and some apple cider vinegar.
Oof, that sounds terrible.
Smells atrocious.
Yeah, I could imagine.
But it's fine. It does what it's supposed to do.
Fair enough. What we're supposed to do at some point is probably talk about sports, which we'll get to eventually.
I know. I just saw Sautter pull up, and I haven't seen him in like a month in person, and it's been refreshing. So, it's.
I got to clean up my area here because he'll get mad at me. He always gets cranky when I don't have my stuff put away. So
kinder, gentler Mike Sautter would be nice.
I don't think that exists. That's not a real thing.
No.
He's probably listening to us in the car right now.
Baby steps.
Yeah,
I thought he would call us from CHI.
I kind of thought he would too. But he always tells me, he's like, "Hey, if I'm not going to be there live, I will tell you." And he didn't tell me, so I assumed he was going to be here.
All right. Well, get his seat ready.
I will.
I still can't believe you're cool with the whole Wilks thing, though.
I mean, I would have been okay if they kept him, but I didn't have a problem with them letting him go either. I was a little surprised. I was a little bit surprised, a very little bit.
I did. There is something sports-wise that I wanted to ask you because I picked them to win the national championship, and you kind of looked at me weird. Did Purdue scare you last night against Minnesota? Just a regular season game at home, trying to protect.
I think Purdue has flaws, so it doesn't scare me. I think they are.
Well, who is flawless?
UConn's the closest.
See, I don't know about that.
I think UConn is the only team I have consistent confidence in is UConn.
They're going to lose to Creighton in Omaha on Tuesday.
So part of the problem for me also is, and this is.
People are looking at me like I'm crazy. Yeah, I said it.
No, they could. They could.
The Jays will win on Tuesday against UConn.
I hope you're right. I mean, that would be phenomenal.
I will be.
But and this is not fair probably to Purdue, but obviously I've seen a lot more of UConn. I've seen them up close, or I haven't seen them up close, but I've watched them pretty closely over the course of the year. I've seen a lot of these players up close last year, right? So my familiarity with UConn is greater than my familiarity with Purdue, to be fair. Just I watch more Big East basketball than I watch Purdue basketball. Not that I don't watch a lot of Purdue, but I also have this thing stuck in my head of
Big Ten greater conference than Big East.
Yeah, probably, but that doesn't mean the best team in that conference is better necessarily, right? Like you can make. I agree, Big Ten is a better conference.
It's significantly better.
I don't know how aggressively I want to land on significantly, but they are better, and I think it's clear they're better. Margin, we can have an argument over. Okay, but we're in the same neighborhood, I think. But here's what the thing that I can't get out of my head, right? The thumping that UConn put on Creighton earlier in the year, that's hard to shake. And I know transitive property in sports is not a thing. It's not a real thing. It's not a real thing in most things in life, actually. But I watch UConn put a thumping on Creighton. I watch Creighton put a thumping on Nebraska. I watch Nebraska beat Purdue, right? I understand. No, listen.
Okay.
Just let me finish.
Okay.
I understand logic.
Don't let my expression stop you. That what you're going to say is foolish.
I mean, you're making like I'm close talking to you after I ate an Indian wedding. Like that's the face you're making over here. And I need you to just hear me out. Let me finish here. Listen, Linda. I understand that logically that doesn't matter. But
you're going to say it anyway.
No, I'm not going to say it matters. I'm acknowledging my bias here is what I'm doing. I'm not saying this matters. I'm saying,
can I ask something real quick?
Hold on, real quick.
Why give the analogy if you're admitting that it's thinly veiled?
I'm trying to explain to you why, if I am wrong about UConn being that much better than Purdue, why that perception is the way it is to me.
Hey, I know I'm going to pour this concrete. I know it's poorly mixed and probably more water than it should be, but hear me out. I'm going to pour it anyway.
I'm acknowledging my bias here.
Okay.
That's all I'm doing.
Okay.
I understand that it's not that what I have seen is impacting what maybe my perception versus reality.
Yeah, but you gave an example of something that happened 3 months ago.
Yeah, but
how do you even remotely let that be said?
You can't unsee certain things.
Nebraska doesn't have a bad loss, so who cares? They don't have a bad loss on their resume. So Creighton drubbing Nebraska just didn't play well, but they still don't have a bad loss.
I understand that. And when UConn drubbed
Creighton, guys know you got beat by UNLV.
I understand that. That's a bad loss. So that goes into me saying, okay, if I see Creighton with some bad losses, getting drubbed by UConn, and then still drubbing Nebraska, and Nebraska
who has
Purdue,
no bad losses.
Okay, but Nebraska's resume is different than what we're talking about here.
Well, let's go back to what I said about the conference being significantly better. Nebraska has no bad losses, Ravi.
Better.
So I understand.
Significance aggressive.
Okay.
They're better.
They're probably 3 conference slots ahead of Creighton.
See, you've got the Big East at like 6, and I don't know that I buy that.
I was trying to move them up, and you wouldn't let me.
Yeah, in the moment,
I was like, what if you want to jump them over the Mountain West or the ACC? Like, I was willing to entertain it, and you wouldn't take the bait. Now you want to go back and say, I'm putting them at 6? I was willing to entertain them being moved.
In the moment, I wasn't prepared for the conversation.
Wow.
What?
It's fluid.
I mean, listen, I'll admit that.
I even said, I was like, hey, would you put the Big East ahead of the Mountain West? They're probably ranked higher, but you could convince me.
I would put the.
I said, hey, I know the ACC is ranked ahead of the Big East probably, and I didn't even know the rankings. I'm talking out of my rear end, but I know I'm close.
Okay.
And you're like, well, I don't know about that. But now we're like pro Big East on Friday. That was just Monday.
Well, I mean, do you care about Ken Pom at all or no?
I like old Kenny Pomeroy.
So if we're going on Ken Pom, he's got the Big East as the second best conference in the country.
Yeah.
He's got him ahead of everybody but the Big 12. So 6 is low. I don't know how low it is, but 6 is low.
Okay. Just at face value.
What?
Which conference?
Big East.
Who's ahead of the Big East?
The Big 12.
Okay. You wouldn't put the SEC ahead of the Big East?
I personally think yes. I'm just saying what Ken Palm has.
Okay.
I personally think the SEC is better than the Big East, and I agree that the Big 10 is better than the Big East.
Okay.
I think significantly is aggressive, so that puts the Big East at what, 4? I think 4 is fair.
Yeah.
Can we land on 4?
Yeah. I'm not sure who I would take in Miami and Marquette, though.
I think I take Marquette there.
Yeah, I keep hearing that. Marquette's going to break your heart.
They're not going to break my heart because I dislike them.
That's a flawed basketball team.
They're not going to break my heart because I want them to lose because I'm not a big Shaka Smart guy anymore. But
what happened? You actually got inside the numbers at VCU?
No, he was being a real
the amount of conference titles at VCU.
He was being a real a-hole at Creighton last year. And I was like, not.
It always boils down to how they treat the Jays.
Yeah, absolutely. Our opinions on other people are almost exclusively about how they treat us. That's human nature.
I don't think you need to say hole anymore.
Like a donut hole?
I'm done.
We're kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. And for this third hour, we're on KFOR in Lincoln. Joining DB and myself now is Mike Sautter, our very own from Hurrdat Sports. Sautter, how you doing this morning?
Talk, but I'm doing
there
good.
We
okay,
go.
Now I can hear
Mike's
myself
on.
talk.
What's up, Mike?
I'm doing good. I'm like the Allman Brothers. I was born a rambling man right now. I'm just moving.
Oh, God.
I'm just moving around out here.
This is just random reference day. That's what this Friday morning has been. And on your bingo card, that will probably be the first and only time.
Is that the Allman Brothers?
Allman Brothers.
Yeah. I'm 99.9%.
I am 100,000%.
And you know, you and Shane almost got into it over Don Henley yesterday, too.
Hey, I was
You
wrong.
should have seen these two.
I was wrong. I admitted it.
And Shane was having none of it.
This was
post-show.
And he was right.
He's standing in the middle of the floor trying to hold his ground. He's like, it's Don Henley.
Shane wanted to do a push-up contest again?
Hey, I didn't have much ground to hold, but I held it.
He stood it.
You can't do 25 push-ups in a row. We've established
Here
that.
we go. It's almost like I never left.
How
were
last
things?
week I was like a pirate with a peg leg made of gold. So this week I'm like a rambling man from the Allman Brothers.
Oh Lord. Have you been excited?
I don't know.
No
what
one
any of
thinks
that
that's
means.
funny.
I don't know what any of that means.
That's funny.
So
I'm calling myself
the
funny.
weird thing about Ravi is, yeah, he's 61, but there'll be like this small percentage of the time that he's back in his 30s. So like if you hit in that 5%,
it's a total blind
it's a
spot.
total, it's a loss. But 95% of the time you're good. He's the 61-year-old.
Is the peg leg made of gold a thing? Is that a reference to
No.
something?
No,
Okay.
No, it's just random, bro.
It's just
that's
totally
that's the part I don't get.
Sutter.
I know the Allman Brothers. I got that one.
How's wrestling? How's wrestling been for you? Because you double dipped yesterday.
Yeah, I was at wrestling from 8:30, 8:40. Yeah, about 8:30 to 4:30. Then hustled out to DC West for my game of the week. Big win for DC West over Omaha Concordia.
1-point win, right?
Yeah, it was a
I kinda-
game-winning shot. But
I have
not
I have a little bit
Not
of
a
a thing
buzzer
for
beater.
DC West just because I like the people.
And then but they're in the same sub-district, so they'll play again next week.
Is now about the time we get into sub districts again?
Oh yeah, girls sub-district C1, all that came out right now, like 5 minutes ago.
How do you feel about sub districts, Mike?
People get all bent out of shape about it.
Yeah,
I
yes,
don't
they
care.
do.
I do not care.
Yes, they do.
Whatever.
But you
It is
understand
what it
sub
is.
rankings, right?
Yeah.
Our sub districts. We talked about this for like multiple years.
Yeah.
You can do wild card points and play non-district schedules, or you can do sub districts, which in essence serves the same
thing. Yeah.
Purpose as a balancer.
Well, I guess the girls district finals, I guess, are now set because sub districts were last night. I'm sorry, I should have said that. But if it still gets this, in the end, it gets the 8 best teams in.
Yeah.
When you're talking about lower class, or sorry, not
Smaller
yeah,
class.
smaller classes, not lower, because you never want to say that. 'cause
Lower
that's-
population. That
You
is
will
all.
offend people.
Oh yeah,
if you
people get
say
mad.
that.
Can't say lower class.
Can't say lower class. You have to say.
Are you
something
are
else.
you impressed with the environment? Downtown seemed
Yeah,
a little
wrestling, yeah.
light.
I
Yesterday.
went back after I was in Valley. I left Valley at 6:41 and made it to inside of CHI downtown.
Did you
Omaha
wave to the folks at like Lashara?
At 7:23.
You're like, hey,
So,
just driving past. They
I
get
was-
lumped in with Valley sometimes.
I was, when I say driving,
Pushing it.
I was driving a little bit. So I needed to make it back down there. So anyway, yeah, I was a little surprised. The environment was fine. It wasn't like full or anything. Tonight will be packed. It'll be full. The semis are always fun. That's where I'll be tonight. I got to go to Lincoln first, right after this, and then for
Why?
What are you going to Lincoln for?
Hoiberg availability.
So
big
Nebraska basketball.
one tomorrow for them. They can't lose that.
Well,
game.
I think they all are because
going forward.
and hopefully I didn't, and I don't believe in jinx because I'm not superstitious, but I was hammering Ravi. I was trying is because I'm never mean.
He
to
didn't
him.
care. Yeah.
No, he's totally like Teflon. He's like, yeah, whatever. Nebraska doesn't have any bad losses, so you have to keep that.
Minnesota's looking like a better and better one.
And they were
They're
were
playing
more
good.
than tough
They should
against
have beat
Purdue.
at Purdue last night.
Yeah.
One of the hardest places to play. in the
Which is
country.
why I never understood this. And I said this in passing yesterday, the day before to Ravi, and we didn't like get into it because I don't think you didn't have a strong enough opinion either way. But somebody was like, "Well, yeah, there's Minnesota as like a game that got away," and I was like, "Not really." I said, "Minnesota outplayed them the whole half."
Mhm.
Rutgers was actually a bad
got away.
loss.
Yeah,
That one got away in a hurry.
on the road,
Like because
though.
you had the 2 long stretches where you couldn't throw it in the ocean, but Minnesota whipped them pillar to post the whole second half.
Yeah.
Like that can happen in basketball.
They got to get that one back in Lincoln coming up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got every. Will Nebraska be favored in their remaining games?
I think they are by at least one in every one, according to Ken Pomeroy.
Except
I like how
ironically
you use
enough,
his last name too. I say Pomeroy.
except ironically enough, at Ohio State, they are a
Yeah,
1 point.
which by then,
but that's a coin flip.
yeah,
It's a 46%er in terms of his.
see, just because they got their guy playing.
Yeah, it's going to be on.
But it's also the last game of the season, and by then, Michigan
may
might
not
just
have
be
much to play for.
We're good. Let's move on with our life.
What do you do
So-
with Juwan Howard?
You probably gotta go.
Wave goodbye.
Yeah, it's probably time to go.
Probably need to be done there.
And I will say this in the post game last Saturday, I felt like he just
Checked out.
didn't have a clue what was happening. Yeah, definitely.
Little resigned to his fate.
Well, his
yeah.
vibe is one. I don't think he's indifferent. I think he's matter of fact. So sometimes that's
Felt
a
like-
real fine line. You kind of felt like he was
Felt like
more
he was a
indifferent.
little like, yeah, we knew we were gonna lose, and it just happened, and whatever. I felt like it was pretty like, oof,
Starting
this
to
don't
pack
look
it in a
good.
little bit.
Yeah.
Mm.
So now
So hopefully I didn't jinx.
I have
Nebraska.
said Nebraska could win their last 6 games. Very, very much so. Could go 6-0 here. That's 23 wins. That moves you from like,
You feel really good at 23.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I think at 22, you feel
So that
really good.
I think
definitely
at 20 you
that
feel good.
definitely means they're not going to go 6-0.
Probably, yeah.
I think at 20.
I think
they-
5-1 is really realistic.
I think you just kiss a death.
I think if you get to 20 that's the number. For me, 20, 21 maybe.
I think if you're at
But
20,
20
you're
is
going to
my-
feel real nervous on Selection Sunday.
Is
20
the
you're
no
probably
bad
gonna play.
losses potentially the greatest equalizer to if you don't get a road win?
I think they're going to get one.
Here's the problem.
Or
though,
can
is
you
if
overlook the fact that most teams have struggled on the road
That
this year?
everyone in like the country can't win. on
But
the road.
Nebraska's trending. Like,
Yeah.
it's a narrative about Nebraska now,
Correct.
the away. And that's
Correct.
the bigger issue than it impacting the resume.
And offensive rebounds.
Like it's a bigger
is
issue that people are
another one.
talking about the road game thing than it is an actual detriment to their resume, and that's where it becomes a problem if you're only at
Can
20
they
wins.
win at Indiana is another one because you have a coach on a hot seat there. That one's kind of a little.
You got to
dicey.
be able to get a couple, I think, on the road here
Yeah.
to feel good. Because all of a sudden, if you get 2 on the road, you can look back and okay, they won at Kansas State. They won 2 conference road games.
It'd be nice if that K-State
Could
aged
get
a
a
little
bump.
better. I need K-State to
pick it up a little bit here at the
They
end.
got to win a couple here.
I mean, can they be the team that beat Kansas last week?
But my point is, the narrative flips pretty quickly. Let's say they go 5-1. That means they get probably 2 of the 3 road games left. All of a sudden, the narrative flips pretty quickly from, oh, they haven't won a conference road game all year to, oh man, look at all these close games. Like, look how much they fight on the road. They got overtime against Rutgers. They got overtime against a really good Illinois team. You've got the win against K-State. You got a couple conference road wins as well. Like, the narrative flips pretty quick if you can get a couple of these. Whereas otherwise, the narrative is, hey, they didn't win a conference road game all year. We're looking at a team, and if they don't, that means they are sitting at exactly 20 wins, best case scenario. And 20 wins with that narrative, I think you've got to do a little work in the conference tournament to feel okay.
What do you think the message is from Coach Hoiberg today?
I don't know. We haven't talked to him since Saturday, so they haven't played. I'm curious as to the week off. Yes, they needed the bye week, quote unquote, where they're not playing they're the last team in the league to have that bye week where they're not playing a midweek game. But I'm curious to see how they responded or how the health is and bodies are and stuff like that. If there's is Eli Rice going to be able to play tomorrow or not? We'll find that out today, or maybe we won't find it out today. We'll see. He had a high ankle sprain, so it's been a couple weeks. It's real hard. Just one game at a time. I think he's kind of kept that in his mind. And that's been his driving kind of narrative is you just one game at a time. We're just taking one game at a time. Someone asked him even a couple weeks ago about NCAA tournament stuff, and he wanted nothing to do with that. So my one thing with the NCAA tournament deal is, yeah, if they do get to 22, 23 wins, that improves their seed from up to like an 8 or 9 from a 10 or 11. I'd rather be the 10. Like,
if they get to 22, 23, can they get to a 7?
Well, I'm just saying, I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Because if you can get to a 7, that's the better half of being on a 10.
You don't want to be an 8 or a 9.
No, that's
saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because then your second round, if you were to win that first one, I just don't want them to play in Dayton because then it's like, okay, if they win that Dayton game, then the conversation is this a real NCAA tournament win, not, and whatever. And Nebraska's going to treat it as such if they do win because you get the same money for winning that game as you do the other one.
Right.
So they're going to treat it as that. And then selfishly, I don't necessarily want to go to Dayton on a Monday or Tuesday or whatever and then have to pack for a week and not sure if I'm going somewhere else or not.
I remember I went to a Scholastic conference at Dayton when I was with the district.
I've driven through Dayton. I've never
been to Dayton.
It's a very interesting city.
I lived in Ohio for a while.
Pretty urban.
Yeah, very. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
So you've got Hoiberg availability this morning,
and then back to state wrestling.
So I know Millard South is dominating the team race in Class A. Pretty interesting Class B race.
The Class B team races,
Waverly and Scott.
Yeah,
right?
we knew going into it that it'd be those two.
And it's played out exactly.
So far, and Bennington is right there. Also, we kind of knew that happening before yesterday.
Yeah,
that there was going to be close. There hasn't been a close team race where it comes down to like the finals in a match or two or whatever swing matches in a long time. Like
in any class,
Omaha North Central had
that was probably the last.
That was like 7 years ago.
Yeah, and I was there, like, that one's fresh in my head. Yes, I'm in the thick of it.
That's been the last time. So any team race, I mean, it's just weird. So what would be really cool is if Drew Mosier, who is just a hammer for Waverly, I mean, he is a beast. So if he's at 175, if he had to like go out and pin his guy in the finals, and then Cade Ziola, who's he's fantastic. like from Scott. He's at
He's
at 90.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
Physically,
he's a stud.
He looks very different.
He
went from like your build.
Oh wow.
To like Shane's. Like he's kind of yoked.
Shane.
Yeah. What?
He's
pretty yoked.
What would be funny? What would be cool is if then like Mosier gets a pin, they take the lead, and then Cade needs a pin in order for Scott to win it, or so I could see that.
You know where that may happen is on the girls' side.
Yeah, well, Grand Island really pulled away last night, though,
especially late.
Yeah, Westside didn't have a great night last night.
So I was surprised.
Outside of Reagan, who's really good, but
going for 4.
Yeah. Back to Cade Zola. So he's committed to Nebraska, right? He's going to wrestle heavyweight in high school. He's pretty quick for a heavyweight. He's going to be pretty quick.
So the comp that I have for that was Ty Stewart, basically 2 years ago, kind of being undersized, but being a little more athletic when he got his first state title. And people were like, "Oh, he got a good draw," and I'm like, "Yeah,
whatever,
advantageous match."
Yeah,
like in terms of style.
Cade yesterday, I mean, I'm obviously working on something as far as video stuff's concerned for him. I looked at it. I was like 1:30 this morning when I was just going through stuff from last night, and he's just ankle pick. It's like ridiculous. Like there's one match he had 4 in his first match.
It's just weird. I know he's got really good length, but guys give up their legs to him.
He will snatch snatch your ankle in a heartbeat, in a second, like bang. It's kind of like Lordson, Kyler from Bennington. What makes him such a good football player is like you can't get by him because he will low single you like on the football field. He's not the biggest guy. He's playing outside linebacker, and you're not getting by him because he's low singling you on the football field.
So when you get into like individual storylines and you're talking about like top wrestlers, how are you like separating like the Ziolas, the Terrys, the Lordsons? There's some really good individual guys.
Before
I was telling Ravi, I saw Tyson at the North game, which by the way, I didn't realize North had 17 wins.
Yeah, they've won a lot of basketball games. Yeah.
But
that night, the other night though, against Westside. Oof.
So then I went back and looked at their schedule.
Yeah.
And you got to play. You got to play who you can play. So it kind of made sense. It didn't. I just was trying to rationalize.
He's done a nice job though.
Like with the district seedings.
Yeah.
Potentially coming up. But I saw Tyson Terry and I was telling Ravi, I gave him a hug and he had on his, his white warm. Like his size is unbelievable.
He might be cutting to 285 next year. He might be right on the mark. You know what I mean? Like
unbelievable.
He is strong. His second match last night.
Was that the 36-second one?
Yeah. That was like, come on, man. What are we doing? Like, it's just different.
And he's highly, highly motivated. I think he's bothered by a lot of other things.
Oh, yeah. Out of his control.
Yeah. High school movement and stuff like that. Like
for sure.
He clearly seems to be a man on the mission.
Oh, yeah.
And we open with them.
I said you're thinking about it 6 months out.
I'm like Owen James, Connor Wayne. I'm like, you guys come on down. It's going to be really good in the trenches for that
as far as storylines. I think Tyson, Cade, Kyler Lordson going for 3. Those are the best. No. Those are the biggest storylines that will get the most attention. John Alden is really good. Like really good from St. Paul, committed to Wyoming, Class C, 138 pounder. He's really good, like way good. I saw him in Fargo summer, and that guy's good. And then another one to keep an eye on if he gets it done, which he likely should this year, is Zion Ornelas from Wilbur Claytonia. He's at 113.
Putting himself on a good pace.
Yeah, he won 106 last year as a freshman. He's one of the best
setting himself
Well, he's the best 13-pounder.
setting himself up for a guy that can get
4. Yeah,
I mean,
which
hate
is
to jinx it, but
really hard to do, right?
you can't get 4 until you get
The
two.
first. Yeah. Yeah. First or second. And then Ornelas, he beat Abdi Unle in a match earlier this year, and Abdi is he's in the semis in Class A and one of the best in Class A. So look for, if they both win today, Class B semi at 113 it'd be Caden Coyle and Cole Welty. Caden Coyle from Bennington and Cole Welty from Scott. So Coyle won it last year in 2023. He got second in 2022. Cole Welty got second last year after not being on varsity as a freshman. But Cole's pretty good too. So if they can both win and move on, that Class B 113 match would be pretty good.
Let me jump over to high school real quick because I'm going through this thing in my head, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Westside has the bad loss, in my opinion, and Lincoln.
Early
in the season.
Yeah.
But it appears to be kind of top heavy.
It's separated.
For tonight when I see Central again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Central's taken some losses here.
Which is kind of interesting.
Right.
Especially as I look at the scout and kind of the
they're
the report getting inside the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But Gretna's kind of a wild card.
Mm-hmm. Well, their 5 is really good.
Nobody wants to really play them, but getting over the hump for like the big wins.
Yeah.
Is that like the next thing? Because are they the 4th or are they ahead of Westside? Well, Westside beat them, so I don't know if you could.
The 4.
So you would go Bellevue West, Miller North,
Westside
gap.
Little.
I don't.
That's
think
what
so.
minor
That's
gap.
what you're saying.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I just look at what Miller North did to Westside 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago.
Is a 27-point fourth quarter. Like you're not going to see that again.
I wasn't there, so
you're not going to see that again. Yeah. I mean, it's a good matchup for Westside. That fourth quarter, and I told Eds, that's as good as I've seen a team share the basketball and move it. And if they play like that, they're definitely going to be a handful. They don't always play like that though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's
Eli was unbelievable. I think he's 11 of 14, and Rollins was sensational.
Yeah. That matchup's hard for Westside though.
See, I like it though because I think if Stubblefield, at some point, it's personal,
right?
And if Stubblefield understands what he has to do with Rollins, that's different. And one of the other defenders, whether it's Caleb, Lofton, somebody else has to. It's personal with Eli to shut that down. Then you make Miller North have to handle the ball, right? Whether it's Major or Neil, one of the other Mossers.
Yeah. Neil would be the probably main
because he's kind of the X factor. I'm biased because I love the family, but
Neil's a really good passer.
There's no that's not a gap.
But it's those 4 right now, and then there's a gap. Like
so it starts with North Central, Kearney.
In that next group, you mean?
Yeah. North Central,
How
Kearney,
far is
Prep.
Central from that 4 though?
Well, North just beat Central.
Yeah.
Fair.
But then Westside hammered North.
Right.
And Central boat raced Miller North.
Right. Well, like that
was early. It was early.
That was December. That's different.
I thought Miller North was a little shell shocked.
Yeah, they were with the physicality and
in
stuff.
The backcourt. Yeah. I thought Central jumped on them pretty early.
Papio South at Bell West tonight,
and then Miller North came back to avenge it.
Mm-hmm. Papio South Bell West tonight's intriguing. We'll see. Reese Kircher's back for Papio South, so they're playing better. That Miller North at Prep tonight will be packed. Like that'll be a big game. Prep's got a big weekend. They got Miller North tonight and Central tomorrow night.
I worry a little bit about the consistency in Prep's backcourt.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, their front court's really good, so you don't have to worry about that. But it's a pretty big weekend. Like there's big games that I won't be able to go to.
I've seen 2 great fourth quarters individually. They both happened in Westside's gym. Clausen wore Westside out
almost
in
came
the
back.
fourth quarter from Prep. And then what Eli Gay did to West Side in the fourth quarter, I was like, wowzer.
You're wrestling all weekend. You making it to any basketball this weekend?
I'm going to Nebraska in the morning.
Nebraska in
Hopefully.
the morning. There we go.
I'll be there too.
That's our guy, Mike Sautter of Hurrdat Sports.
Mike,
good luck. Have a good weekend.
Rambling man.
All right, Allman Brothers. Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio here on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, and KFOR in Lincoln. Mike Sauter's just yelling stuff off, Mike.
Love you, buddy.
Here. See you, Mike.
Dude, he's comedy.
I don't know what's happening.
Did you catch any of that story?
Was
like
he just
what his
cursing
schedule
there?
was?
I don't have to
because he never really landed the plane.
No, you're fine. Yeah, he's going to Nebraska tomorrow morning. Well, he's going to Lincoln now for Hoiberg availability. He's coming back for state wrestling. Sounded like he wasn't doing any high school basketball this weekend.
Yeah,
which with state wrestling that makes sense. And then he's going down.
And we have a whole army for that.
Yeah, and then he's going down to Nebraska against Penn State tomorrow morning, and then he'll be back at state wrestling for the finals tomorrow afternoon. So he's bouncing back and forth between here and Lincoln quite a bit, which is something you can do as well if you want to place some bets at the Warhorse Sportsbook. They got a location in Lincoln. They got a location here at Horseman's Park in Omaha. That's 6303 Q Street. You can place bets on nearly every major sporting event, live bets, straight bets, parlays, props, whatever you can think of, all available at the Warhorse Sportsbook. Go check out warhorsecasino.com/sportsbook or get the Warhorse Casino app for details and a full list of house rules. Warhorse Sportsbook, no bets, no glory. It is time, though, for that Warhorse Sportsbook sports cleanup. There's a lot to clean up because there's a lot of stuff we haven't got to yet today.
Shane, so I leave and all heck breaks loose. Like we had the sweet cleanup.
Yeah, that's on me. I never tell them when I'm doing it, so that's on me.
Like it was really good.
Yeah, we have the bump or the little intro there.
Shane,
I need to do a better job of giving them a heads up when we're doing it. That's my fault.
Can me just says the guy that let you just kind of like mow me down this morning and yesterday too. I owe you for that.
What I do?
Start giving you a little pushback
because
you sneak up on me before you deliver the TKO shots.
I can play it.
You just bullied Shane into not doing opens.
I didn't bully him into anything.
It's very low key.
I didn't do anything.
I kind of seen how you do it now.
I don't know what you mean.
I'm just gonna be on guard from here on out.
How did I bully you? I didn't bully you last couple days. What we do?
Man,
what do you feel like I bullied you on?
I don't know. It's a long story.
Okay, all right.
I feel like a couple things got away from me.
I got a couple I'd like that back.
Yeah, that's really what it is. I need to go back and get that. Hey, Shane, what do we have coming up?
Things you wanted us to get to from the weekend, but we didn't.
Cleanup on aisle 6.
It's the sports cleanup.
Yeah, so what we need to do there actually...
See, that's probably the reason why I stopped playing it.
Because it says weekend.
Yeah.
So we need to have two of them. We need one for Monday. So we do this on Monday and we do it on Friday.
So I'm just getting back in the swing of things. I just do what I'm told.
Well, apparently not. You're going rogue. You're like, Shane, play the open. Like, it's fine.
Oh, is that my delivery?
Yep.
Play the open.
Do it now. One thing I've been trying to get to all week. No, I don't want to get to it anyway. We'll do something else here.
The Super Bowl?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Can I ask you a question though about the things we didn't get to? Because you were going to say something about Taylor Swift and the impact, and I was like, did you make the point you wanted to make about?
I did. So my
with
point,
the Taylor Swift and had something to do with the Caitlin Clark thing?
Yeah. So my point there was just that we often will take a figure that kind of serves a purpose. But, no, that wasn't it at all. That was your point on Taylor Swift. My point on Taylor Swift and Caitlin Clark was because we had, I don't know if it was a caller or a YouTube message.
It's probably Jeff.
Women's basketball fan. I didn't know most of the things that were brought up with Caitlin Clark. Last week, Andrew brought up, because I was trying to figure out why people are hating on Taylor Swift so much. It's like, okay, you don't like her music or whatever. Like, I don't really understand here. Why is it a big deal that she gets 30 seconds of airtime during an NFL game? I don't care. And Andrew's point was, well, there's a lot of people that don't like her political beliefs. It's like, if nobody had brought that up, I wouldn't even know what her political beliefs are.
Yeah.
It's the people that have already made up their mind about
and some of that stuff goes back to like 2020.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, I didn't know, or I didn't remember. And B, I don't care. My point with both of them is Taylor Swift has brought in, I said this last week, Taylor Swift has brought in an entire generation of young women and girls to football that probably never would have been exposed in the same way to football. And yeah, you're not going to have 100% retention rate there, but some of them are going to stick around. Like, some of them are going to be like, oh, I really like football. It's not just going to be like, oh, I like Taylor Swift. Some of them are going to say, oh, I like football.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that, but I'll stay with you here.
I do, because I mean, it might be it's anecdotal, right? But I've seen a bunch of videos on TikTok or whatever where the fathers will ask daughters who started watching Chiefs because of Taylor Swift about the actual football, and they know what's going on.
Yeah.
So maybe they retain those audience, maybe they don't. But at the very least, you're putting football in front of the eyes of people that weren't going to see it otherwise. And I think that's a positive.
I have a couple of case studies that if I know them long enough. Zoe has two little girls in her class, Sadie and Mazzy. And apparently Mazzy's a riot.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know Mazzy. I just know Mazzy from afar.
Mm-hmm.
Big Swiftie, and is a Chiefs fan. Of
course. So we'll see. Maybe she stays a football fan. Maybe she doesn't.
So, but Sadie, though, her mom, super family. Like, her hubby's he's a Northwest guy, and their son wrestles.
Mm-hmm.
He's young. He's first grader. He's a big Chiefs fan.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when that's in like, they wear the Chiefs gear, and so the Swift thing was kind of a bonus for Sadie.
Sure.
As a 5-year-old. So I could see like that being retention, but because I am kind of a bottom line guy, my pushback to you would be, what does that do ultimately for the game?
It introduces it to a group of people that never, like, it grows the game. It introduces it potentially. It potentially grows.
Like,
the
are
game.
they future NFLers, or is it future eyeballs?
It's
like,
future
and what?
fans, it's future consumers of the sport. Right?
Yeah, I like clarity. I
and
just asked.
And potentially, I mean, we've seen a very few number of NFL either coaching staff or front office. We've seen some women start to get those roles. You're talking about, and this is a weird way to put it, but you're talking about an entire new talent pool in terms of coaching and scouting and front office, because you've got this whole group of people that have sort of been excluded, whether on purpose or not, been excluded from working in those jobs, or just haven't been included in working in those jobs. You've got a potential whole other group of people that can make you better.
Yeah, I guess I look at that a couple of ways. I could see that at some point, but
and again, we're too early to know for sure.
And I go back to like something a little more recent, like the Drake thing, like Drake showing up at different places at sporting events and supporting teams, right? And me kind of rolling my eyes at, okay, well, who's Drake going to support now?
Well, that's because he was bouncing around a little bit.
No. Let's not. Okay. So we don't justify Taylor. We don't say, oh, it's because she fell in love with Travis Kelce. So I don't want to say.
Well, no,
I'm not going to quantify it. Let's just stick with he's showing up at multiple sporting events, whether it's Kentucky or Toronto or wherever, right? And there was this there are these music constituents that don't really follow sports, but they like Drake, so they'll start rocking like Raptors gear, or you'll see guys in studio, my guy Drake, so I'm supporting the Raptors, or I'm supporting I'm down with Kentucky, and it's like, I don't know what those guys,
if they're still supporting those teams,
or what, how does that help me?
That doesn't help you.
Or how does that?
Because you're already in.
How does that help grow the game?
It's just putting the game in front of people that otherwise weren't going to watch.
Okay.
It grows the game in that way. Eyeballs, consumers.
Even if it's momentarily.
I mean, ideally, you'd like retention.
Because I think it just seems like we're putting big picture projections on things that are relative. Like we can just celebrate it in the moment. Hey, they brought 1 million more eyeballs than they normally would have, or whatever. Like, the long-term projection for me gets a little myopic.
Let me ask you this, and this is going to get a little more, It's going to get.
You don't have to preface it. Just surprise me.
Okay. Was there, as a young black kid growing up?
Yep.
Was there ever hey, this is a prominent black quarterback, for instance, where that wasn't always a place that that black players got to be?
No.
That made you.
So Doug Williams didn't move my needle.
But did it move other people's needle?
Probably.
So that's kind of where, like, there's probably some retention there, and maybe that's a better example.
I did like gravitate towards Pedro Guerrero
Okay.
before I realized he wasn't like American.
Yeah.
He just like looked like me.
He looked like me, yeah.
That was part of my draw to the Dodgers.
So I think that might be part of it, and that I think is real.
Yeah. I just don't know if they're playing football, though. I think it's a different analogy.
They might not be playing football, but they might be interested in football when they wouldn't have been before.
I'm definitely listening.
We've got Matt Vrzal. We'll see if Matt's listening.
Nah, he's not. He's flipping pies.
Coming up next to wrap up the show. Wrapping up the show here on a Friday, wrapping up your week on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, and KFOR in Lincoln. This is Hurrdat Sports Radio. Damon Betting here with me. I'm Ravi Lulla, and we are joined now on the Warhorse Sportsbook Hotline by Matt Vrzal, former Husker and owner of Paisans Pizzeria. Verge, what's going on, man?
What's up,
Matty? Are you? Listen, I got. Hey,
who's your new co-host, Ravi?
Oh, here we go.
He's a guy named Damon. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He hasn't really been in the limelight a lot recently.
Matty listened to me whine.
During
unopened hours for 5 months. Hi, Maddie.
What's your background, Damon? What have you done?
My background is coaching high school sports, and that's about it.
Have you won any MVPs of any bowl games or anything?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Hey, do you need any help with deliveries this morning?
We don't, buddy. The God-fearing Catholics are out of school. It is teacher conference time, so.
Hey, was it this time?
I got to sleep in an extra 5 hours, so that was nice.
Was it this time last year you and I went to the grocery store for anchovies?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Wasn't that amazing?
Yeah. You made it seem like we were going on a date. We just ran an errand.
Dude, I didn't know you had like a 26-inch vertical where you could jump up on the top shelf to grab some anchovies. I'm like, I think they're out. And he goes, no, they might be behind here. And he's like leaping and grabbing them off the shelf. I was like, really? Like, that's what we're doing. What?
That 26-inch vert was there at 315 too.
So are you more excited that you could make fun of me for dumping Justin Fields in my lap as a Steelers fan, or opening day at Wrigley?
Did that go down?
No, but I usually where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm very
Not real high on Justin Fields?
He's okay. I just don't think that's the answer.
Hey, man, listen.
Yes, sir.
I would keep him because I do not want Caleb Williams.
I knew. So have we talked about this? I don't think we got into it last week because other people started to come in the restaurant. You don't like Caleb. He's not your style, right?
Everybody can save this. This is Matt Vrzal, the Bears fan, speaking now.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never once heard of anybody successful in professional football, because that locker room is different, that's going to have video of him climbing into the stands, sobbing into his mommy's arms because they lost the college football game.
Oh, here we go.
I don't. Dudes that survive. You think like Mahomes at Texas Tech after they lost the game is crying in mommy's arms?
guy. Is that what you're saying?
No.
I got you.
No.
I got you.
He feels like an LA guy.
Not even. He does. Yes, he does. He really, really does.
So you could care
But
less
you know
about
this,
whether
like-
you've ever had a 4,000-yard passer in your franchise history or not, right? Like you're a fit guy.
Nope. Because I had the greatest running back to ever play the game.
Oh boy,
I
don't know about that, but
You say sweetness is not the best. I will slap you.
I know. I don't want to like. I'm not in the. Some other days I'll feel like it and I'll come up there. I don't feel like fighting today.
Are you a Jim Brown guy or Barry Sanders?
Barry.
Okay.
That's a tough one. I would.
But no, I don't think Walter is the greatest running back of all time.
You know, DB, he's a big Emmitt Smith guy.
He's not.
I will. Yeah.
I'm not.
Damon.
Matt, I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Well, good to talk to you guys. Have a nice day.
I already knew where you were gonna go with that. Like I don't want to fight over that.
Here's the GM version of the Bears. Okay, Caleb Williams is not the answer. You have so many other glaring needs that are there, and you have capital. You can trade down, and you can maybe put yourself in a position where you can sell somebody else on Caleb Williams, and it's great. If he goes on and he's awesome, good for him. Because if he does it, if he goes to the Bears, it's much like when everybody's like, Joe Burrow needs to come to Nebraska. I'm like, great, he might, but right at that time, that line, the receiving core, it wasn't ready for Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears are not ready if Caleb Williams is transcendent because but you have so much other that you need besides the quarterback spot. And I get it. Quarterback can change the game. Look what Mahomes did. Yeah, also look at the line Mahomes walked in behind. Like, they were good. And then they just continued to make that line better. And except Creed Humphrey rolling the ball back to the quarterback. But
you know
like,
what?
There's so many other areas of need.
Well, you could maybe the Raiders, maybe Shane's Raiders will be a trade partner. All of a sudden, they're a player to move up from 13. I'm like, do they have enough?
That's a lot of capital.
Do they have enough?
Do they have a guy?
But the Raiders want to get in the quarterback sweepstakes.
Do the other guys have?
And you know what? Hey, sorry, Shaner, go ahead.
I just could say, as long as the other guys have somebody that the Raiders just want to pay a bunch of money to, because that's all the Raiders do.
I don't know. You're kind of selling that short.
Bet on that process, because Antonio Pierce, I think that's a better fit, because Pierce is not going to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be like, hey, dog. Like, I think Eberflus is soft. That's if we're getting to it.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping the Bears go middle of the pack, and then they fire him and they hire Mike Vrabel. And I'm like, oh, here we go.
So you said that last week when I was talking to you, like, because you think Vrabel's, and I was like, well, he's in Wisconsin right now for Fickle. That's going to be bad for the Big Ten.
That is not good for us.
While he's there, because I think we both feel the same about Vrabel from an acumen standpoint. But you think Vrabel has the city of Chicago's mentality, right? Like that's why you like him.
Yeah. Chicago is a hard city. That's why I love it. It's why I love going there. It's why I look forward to opening day every year. It's why I get absolutely pummeled and I document. It's just I want to look back when I'm 90 and be like, man, every year I went and just had a blast. But that's Mike Vrabel. I think fits that. He's an Ohio guy. What Ohio guy do you know that isn't like on edge?
Yeah, our offensive line coach is from Ohio, and he scares me to death.
Yeah, I mean, right?
Our head coach is from Ohio, and he's kind of mean-spirited.
That checks out.
Yeah, I get it.
And honestly, coaches have to fit the town. Like when the Bears in '85, when they were good, you had Mike Ditka, who was a walking time bomb, and they had two coaches screaming at. They carried two coaches off at the Super Bowl. like they had two separate teams. They had an offensive team and a defensive team, and the special teams guys were just kind of peacemakers.
Hey,
it's a hard city. It's just got to have a badass dude running the show.
I know you're not ultra sensitive. Sometimes I even wonder, I think your heart was born a couple sizes too small, but were you moved by the McMichael deal and the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I was. It's always tough to see, guys that you probably not idolize, but you loved like watching play when you were a kid, and to see them kind of fall off in health and that kind of thing. And, now in this, and again, just a blunt Chicago kind of person. But his wife, in an interview, she said, now we just have to hope he makes it to the ceremony. I was like, Jesus.
I know,
Christ,
man.
lady.
Dude, did you see Ryan when they did the piece on set? Like, he had to collect his thoughts, and that's not a Rex Ryan thing.
No, but that's a tough ass dude. I mean, it is what it is, man. But yeah, it sucks. He's where he's at. It's cool that he got in, and I hope as many of the 85 Bears make it there and honor him, get to watch him go in, and it'll be very Bear centric. D. Hester getting in too. So,
dude, I was kind of happy to see that, because that may open up the gates for a little more creative thinking on the Hall of Fame. I was happy to see Hester get in. He was ridiculous.
How mad are you going to be when Pat McAfee gets in as a punter?
He's not getting in. Like that, we're never going to agree on your alleged greatness and fawning over McAfee. I don't get it.
You can't. Okay. You know that is our offensive lineman shtick. Like, we did that for years.
No, I get it, but that doesn't.
And you love all of them.
No, I love like Aaron Taylor and Hoskinson and those guys.
Oh, you do? After you had your Twitter fight, you and Haas are good now?
It was. I didn't take it to Twitter. It was personal.
You responded on Twitter.
Sure did.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, man.
Little petty asses on there.
Okay.
Matt,
love you too, Matty.
Matt Vrzal with a little extra sleep is a little spicy. See you, bud.
Wowzer.